Hypocrisy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Lost-Splaining the Interwebs. I am your host. What the hell? Fuzzy. Nick Ricada of Ricada Law, small law firm in central Minnesota. How's it going, guys? Sorry, you know when you're in the shower, and the water's warm, and you're just like, I'm at peace. Oh, man. I got out of the shower. I wonder what time it is. Oh, my God, it's 10:59. 10:59. Time to get downstairs right away. So, my humblest non-apologies for being a little bit late today. You guys are, of course, used to this because I am a consummate, even a consummate professional. Let's see. We got this thing going over on Rumble. I think we're live over on Rumble. We are. We're live on Rumble. We're live on YouTube. We are live, I think, on Odyssey as well. Oh my goodness. It's almost like I've got this thing close to down. Not quite, but we're getting there. Okay. All right. Whoo. Well, I'm just getting all my chat windows. All the chat windows in the world got to get pulled up here. Here comes the Judge Beedledee. Okay. We've got a lot to cover tonight. We'll see how we do on it. First of all, a big and hearty fuck you to Law and Crime. You guys can eat all the shit in the world for all I care. YouTube did, in case you missed the earlier 8-minute long live stream, YouTube did go ahead and apply a channel strike or a copyright channel strike to my channel. However, there is not actually a ban that is in place. Apparently, as far as I can tell on the reading of it, because it's weirdly worded, but I'm gonna sneeze. I have to be careful. If I sneeze unexpectedly, my monitor will fall over. Really? Are we serious? It's hanging out there. It's hanging out there. Based on my bad reading of the copyright policy, it seems you only get the 7-day suspension if you're struck during a live stream, and I assume for that live stream. So with that, I guess since this was an old video, there was not a suspension put on me. I have filed a counter notification. You know, it's great. Stephen Birch, my wonderful attorney, Stephen Birch, wrote up this beautiful counter notification with all these citations to law, wonderful quotes from the court. And he sent it to me so I could go ahead and, just have an easy access thing. I've done counter notifications for other people, but, having him do mine is, well, that's prudent, I think. Having someone do the thing for you. That's why you hire a lawyer. So, he writes up this wonderful thing, and I go to put in the counter notification, copy it and paste it in. There's a 2,000 character limit. What he sent me was like 4,800 characters. So then I had to go and edit it down to try and make a nice cogent argument out of the 2,000 characters that I was afforded. So it was very harrowing. I had to cut a lot of really, really good work. But that's what it is. It is what it is. So I've been notified by YouTube of let's see. Let me see what they said. Thank you for your counter notification. It has been forwarded to the party that sent the takedown notification. Keep in mind that by submitting this counter notification, you've initiated a formal legal dispute process. As such, YouTube will handle this process in accordance with the law. This process takes some time, so we kindly ask for your patience. Upon forwarding your counter notification to the claimant, we will allow them 10 to 14 business days from this date to respond with evidence that they have taken court action against you to prevent the reinstatement of the videos in question. If we receive no response after that time period, your videos will be restored and the associated penalties on your account will be resolved. You will receive updates in this email thread about your counter notification status. You can also check its status within your video manager. Though no response is required of you, please respond directly to this message should you choose to provide us with any further information. And of course, my counter notification has been posted in or has been replicated in the email. So with that, the process should be done. Now I just have to wait out and see if they attempt to bring a lawsuit against me, which I think would be a really dumb move on their part. So I almost expect it, but that's the spot we're at now. And I expect fully that the channel strike will be resolved within that 10 to 14 day period. And again, I want to express, I know a lot of people are annoyed with YouTube in this process, and there is a lot to be annoyed with YouTube about all the time, and in general, and even specifically about their copyright process generally. But specific to this claim, YouTube has apparently, by all accounts that I can find, handled this claim in a completely neutral way. Maybe even slightly favorable to me, since they allegedly filed this claim on January 5th, and it took until mid-February for it to actually come through. So not quite sure. That's the allegation from the attorney for Mediaite, Law News or whatever. So assuming that his recounting is true, which I don't have too much reason to disbelieve it, YouTube has maybe even acted a little bit favorably towards me in this case. I do think the automatic channel strike and the takedown of the video is not the best way to deal with things. Maybe it's the way that they think best complies with the copyright or the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which could be true. But the application of channel strikes always concerns me, because any way that someone who is malicious has the opportunity to put an official disciplinary action on your account without your say-so is wrong, no matter the context of anything, right? Like your employment, your school, whatever it is, that should never be the case. But outside of general criticisms of the system, they appeared to have handled it neutrally or favorably towards me, and for that, I am thankful. So there. Now we can criticize YouTube for all the stupid shit that they do, which is a lot. I believe I am streaming on the correct Rumble page now. I got clarification on which selection to make on the drop-down menu, and that should be cleared up. What else is going on? All right, so tonight we're going to talk in just a few minutes about the Kyle Rittenhouse lawsuits that are coming up, that were teased, announced, whatever. We'll take a look at the Tucker clip, and we'll. Oh God! Oh no! I'm reduced to playing Tucker clips. Not that Tucker doesn't deserve it. Tucker's great, but I'm gonna. Okay, I'll try and spice it up, and we're not gonna. This is not a regular segment. Don't get me wrong. Love the guys over at the Tucker Carlson show, but I don't want to sit and rehash their content all day. They do their content good enough. Someone doesn't need to sit and do it over and over again. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the clip today from Kyle Rittenhouse, or yesterday or whenever, where he announced the Media Accountability Project, which is an unfortunate acronym. I wish they would have had a brand consultation with someone on that one. Someone who understands the internet and would have advised them against MAP as a chosen acronym, but whatever. We'll do we'll talk about that. Some of the, without seeing actual lawsuits, you can never fully evaluate the claims, but we can get an idea of what Kyle will face. And I'm not going to be a presumptuous dickbag and say what I think will happen, because there's so much that goes into it. The jurisdiction that they choose, or the venue that they choose, I suppose, the wording of the complaints, the actual legal causes of action that they choose. All of that is going to play heavily into what the chances are of the lawsuit. So until we see more, we'll just talk generally about the pitfalls and the good stuff that could come from these alleged lawsuits. Then we're going to move into Curtis Reeves right after I played the outro. I'm about to click the end stream button, and poof, court comes back. And there's some post-trial shenanigans for an hour. Actually, for over an hour. And they kept going, and there's some argument that happens about some things, particularly to start one expert. And there's a bit in there, I didn't watch all of it yet, but there's a bit in there about the expert in question who's expected to testify tomorrow that I found to be just remarkable from the state. So we're going to check that out for a little bit, and talk about this motion practice and how it kind of resolves. And then I don't know that we'll do. I don't think I want to watch the full hour of stuff there, because that'll take a while. Because I usually, when I'm watching something that's not live, I like to pause it and talk about things, and take an opportunity to flesh out an idea. And then I guess there's this lawsuit that I've kind of talked about. I used to talk about it more. It's taking a while, and I feel like I've done an update on it, but a whole bunch of people in various places have said that I have not adequately covered the updates in this lawsuit. So I'm going to tell you about a man. Well, it's a loose definition. A male whose legacy involves getting pegged on the internet for money by his now ex-wife, suing a couple of weirdos from YouTube, because YouTube people are weirdos. These two are no exception. For calling him out about sponsoring a comic book that looks kind of pedophilic. And I feel like I've already given this speech, and I feel like you guys know about Peggy Preston Poulter. And I feel like you guys know that. But yeah. Take a look at your thumbnail for tonight's stream on Rumble. Not good. How do I take a look at the thumbnail? I don't even know. How do I do that? Hold on. Let me see if I can figure that out. Oh, yeah. That's good. What are you talking about? Not good. That looks great. That definitely doesn't look like I'm about to rob a TJ Maxx. Good God. Well, that's what we've got going on. Oh. With that, we'll be I am trying to get my editor or me or someone to make a general placeholder card, so I'm not free recording a 1 minute intro to every Rumble stream. But for now, they are what they are. I hope you guys hate him. And I got to do a big thank you and shout out though to Rumble. I really do, because earlier today I streamed on the wrong channel, and I asked them like what was up with that, if it was something that I don't understand. They responded that it's just kind of the part of their evolution as a platform and how things have come about. And I mean, frankly, building this show, I know how that goes. I know how that goes. You start off doing one thing, things kind of get added on and hacked in together, and then they just take a while. So with that, I appreciate what happened, because I asked them, kind of gave me an explanation, and said and indicated that they had actually gone in and manually corrected the stream so that it was streaming on the appropriate channel, which was a real bro move. It was really nice of them to do that, and I appreciate that very much. That was cool. That was really cool of them. They didn't have to do that shit, and they did. And because of that, we have 1,500, almost 1,500 people over on Rumble, which is amazing. Amazing amounts of engagement on that platform already. Okay. What else? Oh, and then there's one Twitter not drama thread I want to point out. It's someone I've picked on before. I'm not going to pick on him today. I'm going to try. Look, I have a disability. I have a card, and everybody who, walks around with me has to have a shirt that says, please pardon the tall nose. He's autistic, and he's not making fun of you, but he is. So I'm going to try not to make fun of him so much, but because that's not the purpose of the segment. But I do want to talk about something. And the person in question is, of course, Mike Dunford, notable, sort of, routine commentator on the Adventures of Nick Rekieta. And Mike wrote a rather nice little thread about me and the law and crime issue. Although he has some minor criticisms that are in there, and I will humbly suggest his criticisms are incorrect for reasons that he might not understand, and that's okay. But we'll talk about that probably very briefly. That'll be like a bumper, right? It won't take too long. But yeah, and it's not Mike's fault. It's not Mike's fault. I know his pain. See, Mike hates me. Just hates me, which I find charming. Like, that doesn't bother me. He hates the shit out of me. But because of that, and I think I mentioned this last time, it is he is incapable of only being like positive. And because it pains him to actually observe me, right? So when he has to see what I'm talking about or doing, it physically upsets him, like, to his core. So he can't deal with that. And I get it. Look, there are people who I don't want to cover. They're like, oh, you need to cover this thing that's going on. I'm like, I can't though, because that person sucks so much that I can't actually watch the thing long enough to engage it or listen or whatever it is. It's one of the reasons I didn't do that second Binger interview. And the other is because I would have made fun of his friend, and his friend is just a guy. That wasn't necessary. But so I get it, Mike. I get it. But I have to put out some minor corrections there, because there's just, Mike lives in a world that doesn't exist. And it's fun to talk about theory, and it's fun to talk about academics, but then there's rubber meets the road. There's the real world that we have to function in and live in. And so you have to, at some point, put souls to pavement and start walking. And one day I think Mike might get there, but I don't think he wants to. And so it's really holding him back. So we'll talk about that for a little bit. Not long. That's not going to be a long segment. I don't want to I don't want to sit and belabor Mike Dunford. All right. Is that it? Can we start this damn show? Let me pull up this Rittenhouse clip. I just realized I didn't have it up here. I had it up on my phone. Let's see. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh, it's on the timeline of one of those people who tweets a whole lot. Where is it? Oh, okay. Here's one of them. Is one of them. So this is on Greg Price's Twitter account. Oh shit! Where's my share? Share the screen. You do this every day of your life, you idiot. Okay, sorry. I just had to talk to myself. Okay, so this is Kyle Rittenhouse. It's time to hold the worst offenders in our media accountable in court for their malicious and defamatory lies. Let's take a peek at what he has here.
The media is the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent guilty and to make the guilty innocent. That's power.
That white supremacist 17-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse.
A 17-year-old vigilante, arguably a domestic terrorist. Kyle Rittenhouse, a militiaman wannabe.
President Joe Biden, who used a picture of Kyle Rittenhouse as a white supremacist.
Is absolutely white supremacy.
You're innocent, but do you feel vindicated?
I feel like justice was served. Right. There's going to be some accountability coming.
White supremacist trials. You've got Rittenhouse.
Hate, disrespect, and intolerance.
In point of fact, the only bigot on the scene appears to have been Joseph Rosenbaum, the child rapist. And yet it's Kyle Rittenhouse who Joe Biden accused of being a white supremacist on the basis of no evidence whatsoever. And let's hope at some point he gets sued for that.
Who will be held accountable?
You are the enemy of the people.
Look at the production value on that announcement. Holy crap. Wow. That's some well put together material there. Okay, there's another clip I'm looking for, but that's what we're talking about. The Media Accountability Project, TMAP. And we need to, there's another one. Here we go. This is what I was looking for. Oh, this is the best. So this is when you retweet someone who retweeted you, which is great. I love doing this. So Greg Price retweeted the Columbia Bugle, who retweeted Greg Price, which is great. So let's see. This is the Tucker clip I was talking about. What do we have here from Tucker?
Have to go through what I went through.
Yeah, I mean, they tried to imprison you for the rest of
your
your
life. Is this the old Tucker clip?
It was advocacy. You have a lot of potential targets to sue yourself. Will you be suing any of these news organizations, and if so, when?
Well, right now we're looking at quite a few politicians, celebrities, athletes. Whoopi Goldberg's on the list. She called me a murderer after I was acquitted by a jury of my peers. She went on to still say that.
Those were not your peers. Let's be very clear. You were acquitted by a jury. But I don't think they were your peers. And I think you're very fortunate to get that acquittal and absolutely 100% support it. But that's one of those holdover terms, jury of your peers. You're not entitled to a jury of your peers. We don't do that in the United States. I know everybody kind of thinks that, but don't bring yourself down to some of these people debated for 3 days whether he was justified in shooting Joseph Rosenbaum. I mean, to me, that jury should have been out in 5 minutes. And only because one of the jurors had to go into the corner and fart and wait for it to dissipate before he joined the others back. Otherwise, it should have been quicker.
And there's others. Don't forget about Sank from the Young Turks. He called me a murderer before verdict and continues to call me a murderer.
Interesting. And what about the people who called you groundlessly a white supremacist, which makes it pretty hard to get a job for the rest of your life if you're a white supremacist? Will you be responding to them?
Absolutely. We are going to hold everybody who's lied about me accountable, such as everybody who's lied, called me a white supremacist.
Yeah.
They're all going to be held accountable, and we're going to handle them in a courtroom.
Kyle Rittenhouse, I appreciate your announcing that tonight, the Media Accountability Project, and of course, we're
have to go.
Whoops, there we go. So this is of course kind of the buzz of the day around the Media Accountability Project. They're going to handle that in a courtroom. Now, again, I would love to interview Kyle Rittenhouse. I would happily talk to him about the Media Accountability Project, though I would think we would have to avoid any topics surrounding the actual legal strategy or anything that they'd be engaged in, which is fine. But I'd love to talk about the principles behind it, what his opinions of the media are in the wake of his situation, and all of that good stuff. I think he got a crash course that few people will ever experience. So I would like to do that, and the offer, of course, to Kyle's team is still there on the table. It has not gone anywhere, and you are still welcome to come on the show and hang out. We'll have a very friendly chat, very laid back, probably a lot different than many of your other interviews, and I think we can have some good times. But that being said, we do need to talk about this lawsuit business a little bit, because Kyle is in the predicament of what? What's up, Mr. Beast? Hell yeah, man. That's welcome to the channel. How you doing? Well, that's a little surprising. So anyway, sorry, that was distracting. But so back to it. Kyle's got he's got the unfortunate predicament. The unfortunate predicament of being a public figure as part of one of the most publicized lawsuits in recent memory. And in that, as part of that, he did kill 2 people and severely injured a third. And a lot of people have a lot of opinions about him, both positively and negatively. And so the big issue that he's going to have, is that he will have to overcome the legal hurdles, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. So, oh my goodness. So that's that. We're going to talk about that in just a minute, but let me go ahead and hit some of the super chats that came in before the show. And that's a preview for what we'll be getting to with this Kyle thing. And we'll talk about defamation law and all of the hurdles around it. The actual statements that he's making and all of that stuff. Okay. The Dragon's Treasure. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I have to pull this one up special because it's a little bit of a longer chat. One moment. So this is from the Dragon's Treasure. He says, YouTube super chat censors are garbage. I know you hate it, but I sent a real super chat on Twitter DM. His super chat message is, damn it, you're not banned. I actually have to do a big sale now. Use coupon code Law and Crime to get 10% off all orders and 10% off your first month of our Tea of the Month Club or our new Dragon's Wings subscription. Each new sign-up will earn Ricada a larger than normal cut. This may or may not be sponsored by Law and Crime. So there you go, guys. If you are into hand-picked loose leaf tea, you can check out thedragonstreasure.com and use coupon code Law and Crime, all one word, and that'll get you 10% off. T-Man, the Dragon's Treasure Teas, has been a wonderful friend of the show for a long time. Makes great tea. Great tea. So thank you for that, Dragon's Treasure. Let's see what's one second here. Okay. Next. Sorry about that. Next, we have Kayla Vakuya. Says, my husband and I are celebrating 20 years together today. Oh, that is awesome. Awesome. Very, very much congratulations on that, and well wishes to you. That is a fantastic achievement. And I hope for many, many more years to come for you for that. I'm trying to pull up reading a news story about the Media Accountability Project. We'll just grab one. We'll grab the Fox News one to talk about in just a minute. Next, we have Mario Carter says, live from Dan Abrams' basement, it's Ricada Law. Tucker, stop talking to me. Live from Dan Abrams' basement, it's Ricada Law. Jonathan Duger says, could you toast my grandfather who passed on Saturday? He was 90, born in 31, joined the Air Force in 47, at 16, then raised 5 kids. Even after he retired, he continued to do work for his community. He knew most of his great grandkids. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me get the whiskey out. Here we go. So to Jonathan Duger, to his grandfather, 90 years old. 90 years old. Imagine being born in 1931, seeing the changes that the country has gone through from then. I mean, he saw the rise and advent of television. He saw the creation of the internet. He saw the civil rights movement. He saw the World War II, obviously. He would have seen Vietnam, Korea. He would have seen as we evolved away from wars and into police actions and into strange military engagements that don't have clear declarations of war, that don't have clear beginnings or endings. We've gone from declarations to authorizations for the use of military force, whatever that even means. He saw America go from really a how do I word this? Go from depression into this golden age of progressivism under FDR, into a strong bastion of conservatism through the sexual revolution of the 60s and 70s, into the 80s, through another recession, depression, into the 90s. I mean, watching 9/11 and how we turned into basically a massive surveillance state. The amount of things this man has seen has built him into something of a monolith that the family can look to. Someone who is steadfast, who stuck with it through all of that, but who most importantly always came back to family and work and community. One thing I've said many times is if you want to influence big, influence where you can and influence at home. So do it locally. And if you're, if you keep working, maybe the ripples will stretch out beyond your imagined reach. So to Jonathan Duger's grandfather, this is a very long toast, but it's also a very long life, and hopefully a life full of love and memory. Cheers. Okay. Sorry, I just got wrapped up thinking about that toast, like that much that you go through. Anyway, Joseph Fizo says, I prepare a toast to crime. Dang. John Doe says, unpegged. Charlie D'Angelo says, just in, Secret Service now searching for lost Joe Biden in Operation Bloated Diaper. One agent says with Biden, shit will hit the fan. Could be. I know a bunch is going on over in Russia. I'll tell you guys right now, I'm not really familiar with I guess the politics at play, with what the actual news is. So I'm not really commenting on it because I don't know much of anything about it. All right. So if you ask me about Russia stuff, I haven't read anything other than little snippets of headlines. I know we're about to impose sanctions on them, and Russia says the sanctions are unjustified and all this stuff. And there's a whole boatload of stuff going on with Ukraine. That's the thing. Law Nerd Clip says, on my clip where Gage said correct, a comment said, that was how they found your channel 3 months ago. Thank you for giving me permission to clip your channel. I just hit 14K. Oh, congrats. And I'm so glad they have helped people find you. Hey, me too. Thank you, Law Nerd Clips. It's almost like you can operate in symbiosis with people. And the way YouTube works is it kind of favors all of this different stuff coming together and all of these different people working together. So that's pretty cool. Hold on. What's up, Carl Jokes? I see you in the chat, buddy. We got to talk again, man. It's been so long. And I really wanted to, I've wanted to talk for a while now. But we'll have to chat sometime. Again, because it's been far too long. Anyway, long story short, that's what it said. I've said what I needed to say. I'm not going to talk to you anymore. Thank you, Carl. S. Asp says, hey, Nick, a homeowner in South Minneapolis just within the past 2 hours exterminated a burglary suspect. He's going to need a great lawyer. You and Bronco will need to cover his trial. See Crime Watch Minneapolis for more details. Well, that's an interesting development. We'll check that out. Eric Allen says, I can't believe you didn't ask a professional on how to make your stream unbreaded after bearded nonsense. Happy to help tonight before 3 a.m. Well, we'll see. We'll see, Eric. Actually, I'd probably like to schedule you for a stream on that. Next we've got Guy says, the current interpretation of public figure is BS. Kyle and many others are made public figures by the same organizations that are defaming them. I agree. Will the courts ever reconsider what constitutes a public person? I know at least one justice wants to, and I think there's actually more like 2 to 4 of them who are really looking at it heavily. But Clarence Thomas is the one who said New York Times versus Sullivan was a product of its time and maybe needs to be extinguished because it created a doctrine of really unfair imbalance for people based on public figure status that was created for them. That somehow because you're in public, people are more free to cause you harm. And what constitutes a public figure? I mean, that might be the real problem. Maybe the public figure doctrine is okay. And I think certainly for government officials, it is. And that's what it was designed for. It was designed to protect people to criticize the government agents who kind of rule over them and work for them. They weren't able to just be sued by every police chief that they wanted to criticize, or when there was a political campaign, they wanted to talk about one of the politicians. They weren't going to be sued into oblivion just for speaking out. That was the idea. But then it got expanded, and that public figure doctrine got placed onto private persons who happened to be particularly famous, which again might be okay if you're someone who went and chose the limelight, right? Like you went into Hollywood and became some massive celebrity. I mean, I don't know that that should give people permission to speak into your life and actually cause you harm. And we do see now that people have the ability to damage the previously undamageable through Twitter by itself. Just for some reason, this Twitter app has created an environment where people can be destroyed by nobodies, despite their big status. And the whole purpose of the public figure doctrine was to protect nobodies being able to say things about somebodies, and the somebodies not being able to leverage their considerable resources against the nobodies. So that no longer seems to be an issue. Everybody has a more balanced power dynamic. And with that balanced power dynamic, I have, maybe the doctrine doesn't need to exist anymore. But we're going to be talking about that a lot in just a second as we get into this thing. Eric Allen sent a big super chat. Thank you, Eric. Maybe you're trying to buy your way onto the show. Don't do that. Don't do that. I appreciate the donation. Maybe I'll bring you on in a little bit. Maybe I'll bring you on for the Daily Unbreaded segment. We could probably do that. You said before 3 a.m. We'll work that out. In a Rut says, hey, Rackets, I went through a traumatic incident earlier today. My finger slipped through the paper. Now I feel like a victim and an abuser. Counsel me through this tough time. Well, you know what you have to do. Anytime there's an unwanted penetration, the perpetrator has to be put down. So in this case, I'm going to need you to get a kitchen knife, and I'm going to need you to go ahead and remove that finger. Going to need you to go ahead and do that. You're going to have to remove it. I'm sorry, but it is a rapist, and rapists need to be removed from society by any means necessary. And in this case, for you, it's a chippity chop. Chippity chop chop. Shinchan 256B says, hey, have you been injured in an Imperial cargo shipping incident? Has an expanded drive core damaged your damping shield modulators? You deserve credit compensation. Nick Ricada, attorney at Space Law. I'm here for you. Hey, thank you, Shinchan. Maybe you're on a path to being demodded in the next, 36 weeks. Skyrim 96 says, are you secretly RGE? Because you and him say could be quite a bit. Could be. I think he draws anime titties better than I do. Blake Pritchard says, Freedom Convoy leader Tamara Litch was denied bail by a judge who not only ran as a failed Liberal candidate in 2011, but also earned Trudeau's endorsement, and she never disclosed this conflict of interest. Can Tamara appeal? I don't know. I don't know how Canadian law works sufficient to answer that question. In the United States, you would be entitled to an appeal. In fact, you would be entitled to a petition for a writ of mandamus to offer immediate relief from the court, from an upper court on that, where you wouldn't have to abide by the normal appellate procedure. But that is, you would also be entitled to a separate habeas corpus hearing that you could appeal in that case. But I don't know. Canada doesn't seem like a place that honors individual rights. And so I fear that there might not be anything you can do. I mean, who would need those silly, pesky rights? I mean, the government would never oppress anyone. So why do you need rights? And by extension, why would you need guns? Why would you need guns or anything else? Because there's no, you don't need individual rights at all. You don't need any protection. That's a tough question. I don't know the answer. Sorry. Over on Rumble, we have a couple chats. Quickren says, what happened to the video with Donut Operator? Did he decide to just not release the video? I don't know. I'll have to text him. I haven't talked to him since we recorded. He said it would be up in a couple days, and then just never materialized. I don't know if he decided that he didn't like the idea or that it was too late. It was a Christmas themed thing. So he might have just decided it was too late to do it, but I'll have to reach out to him because I'd love to interview him anyway. Kivo 1973 says, take a look at your thumbnail for tonight's stream on Rumble. Not good. I read that one earlier. Rumble username sucks says, if Kyle had 12 peers in Kenosha, the city would be a utopia, completely free of child rapists, domestic abusers, and anti-figots. Can I suggest on Rumble that more people should do what he did? I have no idea if you can do that. You do so at your own peril. Joe Schmo, 1 of 3, says, for Kyle, the legal process is the punishment. The left has their legal funds and media coverage to punish wrongthink. I believe TMAP starts swinging the pendulum the other way. Let's hope so. Let's hope so. I'm looking for people who are going out and fighting. That's one of the things that attracted me to the Vic Mignogna case. I mean, I know I allegedly forced him to sue or whatever. I don't think that that's true at all. But you know, his case stood against this sort of culture. And I don't think that was his mission. It wasn't, my mission doesn't matter because I was just a commentator on the case. But with that said, whatever his mission was, the reality, these damn kids. Hold on. I'll be right back. There's screaming going on. Okay, sorry about that. You know, when you have noise reduction monitors in your monitors and a couple doors and you can still hear a kid crying, you're like, I should probably go figure out what that is. Turns out my youngest daughter was jumping around and hit her head on the knee of my oldest daughter. I don't know why they're awake. What are you doing? Why are you jumping? Let's go to bed. Okay. All right. Danby. Oh, so anyway, so with the Vic stuff in the same way, it doesn't really matter a lot of times what the individuals want because their lawsuits take on a life of their own once people get to commenting on them. And the Vic lawsuit for a lot of people stood against this trend that they saw coming into their industry, from professionals to fans to pseudo, I don't want to call them pseudo professionals, but adjacent professionals in the convention industry and everything. The whole thing changed kind of the idea of how this Me Too thing was going to work in anime. And we saw a whole lot less of it. So a whole lot less than what was planned. So that was something. But in Kyle's case, it's a little different. He's got a ton of resources, and he says he seems to be willing to take the fight to them. So I'm interested. I'm interested to follow. Dan Boy says, F super chat, send Rumble rants instead. 10% more for the nose while feeding Rumble and starving YouTube. Win. Next, Roxas 1969 says, in Lemons, say this thing with law and crime has to stop. It's harshing my con slut. Chill, man. Yes. Okay. Gonzo says, latent heteroflexible. How breaded of you. He also says, Canadian law. I'm pretty sure they go by monopoly rules. Great US says, prayers for Viva when watching the Canada Senate debate becoming a dictatorship. I think he suffered multiple aneurysms, some strokes, and a mental breakdown overall. By the way, no call number to join Rumble, or no call number to join Rumble. My bad, but based on first interview of their CEO, who said they demand them to verify accounts equals real people. Red Dev Ved says, use this to pay for the editor, clipping the prosecution's butthurt and the end of Cross today. Yeah, I think he's working on some videos from today's video. It was really good stuff. Dev Ved says, I can't believe Mr. B scammed Nikki, plus the chat almost killing that guy. Let's sue. Yeah, that appears to have not been Mr. Beast. So whatever. Thanks for stopping by. You excited the chat for a little bit, and that was great. I love interaction. And then he says, wait, I'm a retard. It was a different YouTuber who almost killed that guy. Got to spend my Binger coins to keep Nick from spreading fake news. I don't know what you're talking about, but that's great. That's great. All right. Back to Kyle Rittenhouse. So Kyle Rittenhouse is pursuing potentially a defamation action against various people. I've got the news story pulled up here that was penned yesterday. Kyle Rittenhouse launching initiative to combat lies from powerful media outlets, names those he may sue. Let's see. Me and my team have decided to launch the Media Accountability Project as a tool to help fundraise and hold the media accountable for the lies they said and deal with them in court, Rittenhouse said on Monday's Tucker Carlson Tonight. So I guess one of the questions I always had with Kyle Rittenhouse is what is he going to do after this? What's his plan? What is the career trajectory? He's mentioned being a lawyer or going to law school, for example. Best of luck to him. I think it might be interesting when it comes to the admissions process. Hopefully he can find a school that will allow him to attend all of that stuff. But that being said, I mean, I certainly think he can do it. The question is, will people let him do it? And will his bar admit him and all that stuff? All of these organizations are becoming progressively more ridiculous. So he may have to make some strategic choices there, but I think overall he could make it happen. But it looks kind of like he's going to be a professional plaintiff. And being a lawyer in that could be really, really helpful. Going to law school, learning about litigation and what you can and can't do and say, and how to manage these sorts of things for other people will help him manage things for himself. But if they're going to go after the media, I mean, this is not a quick prospect. Nicholas Sandmann is still engaged in ongoing legal actions. Kyle Rittenhouse will be busy for years and years to come if this is what he chooses to do. And maybe that is, quote, I don't want to see anybody else have to deal with what I went through. So I want to hold them accountable for what they did to me because I don't want to see anybody have to go through what I went through. He's already got lawyer redundancy down on the statements there. Right now, we're looking at quite a few politicians, celebrities, athletes. Whoopi Goldberg's on the list. She called me a murderer after I was acquitted by a jury of my peers. She went on to still say that. He also name dropped Cenk, who called him a murderer. They're going to go after everyone who lied about me, such as people who lied and called me a white supremacist. They're all going to be held accountable, and we're going to handle them in a courtroom. Okay, so let's take a look at these things. Let's take a look at these things a little bit, kind of one at a time. as we take them. As we take them. Murderer. Murder is a crime, and therefore, and it's a violent crime. It's certainly defamatory if you've not murdered someone. And so typically speaking, under normal circumstances, we would say murder would be per se defamatory. That means it's defamatory as a matter of law. The statement is so damaging when people accept it as the truth. When people accept it as a true thing, or as a fact, I should say, that the courts say, yeah, we're gonna take away the element of damages and just assume that the amount of damage that this statement does exists, because of course it does. If you convince people that anybody is an actual murderer, then you are convincing people that they should stay away and be skeptical of this person, not do business with them, that the person is one of the guilty of one of the worst crimes you can commit. However, that's under normal circumstances, and we're not under normal circumstances with Kyle, because Kyle did kill 2 people. And while murder is a legal term in many states it's not, right? First degree intentional homicide is the actual statute. Second degree intentional homicide, whatever. Those murder is not in the actual legal definition. It's, even though we all know what it means, but the question then becomes, has that become a descriptor? Because I don't think the people, no, I shouldn't say that. I do think people like Whoopi Goldberg and Cenk believe that Kyle is guilty of first degree intentional homicide. But they may also be calling him murder colloquially. And I'm not saying that this cannot be done and overcome. I'm saying that this is a bad product of current defamation law, that even the very clearly contextualized accusation of murder can be deemed to be an opinion if you get an idiotic judge. And they don't mean it as an opinion. Obviously, Whoopi Goldberg and Cenk mean it as he is guilty of murder and the jury screwed up. But that being said, what they mean, what they say, what they argue, all of these things will be factors. And to prove defamation as a public figure, of which Kyle is undoubtedly a public figure. And I know people are going to say he was made a public figure by the media. And to some extent that is true, but his actions were actually shooting people at a protest that he voluntarily attended. So that, he shouldn't have had to shoot those people. And I don't think he wanted to shoot those people. But that being said, those actions may be enough justification for him to be a public figure that is a voluntary public figure. The media certainly blew that up and expounded upon it. But that being said, so when you're a public figure, and we have to assume for the purposes of argument that Kyle Rittenhouse will be found to be a public figure because the bar is incredibly low and courts are idiots, they'll find him to be a public figure. And so, and certainly he is now, of his own volition. He went on a media tour, right? Like after all this, he embraced his public figure status and went on a media tour. So anything said after that media tour would probably be subject to the public figure doctrine, even if he were otherwise private. But once that happens, to prove a defamation case, you have to show a false statement published by the speaker about the plaintiff, in this case, Kyle Rittenhouse, to a third party that is to be taken as true, but again, is a false statement. So, and then finally, that has to be made with something called actual malice. Normally, if you're not a public figure, it would be negligence. But when you're a public figure, it's an actual malice standard, which doesn't mean being mean to someone or being, having hatred in your heart for that person, as we typically think of malice. What actual malice means in the legal context is that the person making the claim knows that the claim itself is false or recklessly disregards the ability to find the truthfulness of the claim, which would be discoverable pretty easily. And that is an extremely high bar. It's one of the highest bars in American law, is overcoming the public figure doctrine for the purposes of a defamation action. So that is the biggest hurdle Kyle faces on the murder front, because I do think he can make the case that they are legitimately accusing him of legitimate murder after he was acquitted. This is not an opinion that the people listening that they're talking to are meant to take it as true that he intentionally and with a depraved mind killed two people. I think that's what they want their message to convey. I have no doubt in my mind that Whoopi Goldberg and Cenk Younger want people who are listening to them to think of Kyle Rittenhouse as a criminal murderer that happened to beat his charges on a technicality or something like that. That little technicality called self-defense, that principle that says that we don't have to die just because someone else wants to kill us. But that's what I believe that they want. I think they want people on that. They'll probably argue differently in court. Oh, it's just my opinion. I think he killed those men. It was, he shouldn't have because he brought a gun across state lines, whatever. That's what they're going to argue. But I believe that in their heart of hearts, they actually hate him and want people to know that he is a murderer and that he intentionally murdered people and that the law got it wrong. So in that case, I think they can make the claim. The big hurdle there is overcoming that public figure status and showing actual malice under the law. The next claim, white supremacist, racist. He's got a different hurdle. And again, I don't think it should be this way. Especially because those labels are so obscenely damaging and damning when they're actually applied to someone and taken as true by the masses. They're life destroying. They're career ending, life destroying labels. That it's not someone at a grocery store screaming you're racist. It's ABC News or NBC News or whatever, CNN, broadcasting to millions of people. Well, sometimes that you are racist, that you are terrible, that you actually hate people of other races based solely on their skin color or their national origin or whatever it may be. And then those people don't interact with you. They don't hire you. They won't do business with you. They won't sell you products. They won't buy your products. All of that because they decided you were racist without evidence. The problem with it is it kind of sounds like an opinion, because how do you prove it? Remember that these have to be factual statements. They cannot be opinion statements. And racist and white supremacists are oftentimes subjective to the person making the accusation, and therefore it makes them really prone to being opinions. Again, I don't like this. I don't think it should be this, but I think it is this. And that's the problem that we've got. And that's the big problem that they'll have to overcome. That sounds like an opinion. White supremacist and racist. Now, I know there's the Gibson, I think it was Gibson Bakery, that college bakery that filed a lawsuit and won. I don't know what the appeal status is, but they won their defamation case about being called white supremacists and racist. But when you really get down into the facts, the specific statement that was made, if I remember right, was that they had a documented history of white supremacy and racism, which is very different from a general label of white supremacist and racist, because the documented history, okay, show me the document. And when you can't show the document, suddenly that documented history is a falsehood that was created. Because that, and if you think about it, that documented history line goes to this idea that other people have determined also that this person is racist, and they've documented it sufficiently for it to be recognized. So this case, they're just calling him racist or a white supremacist. I mean, I don't think that that's true at all. I think that that's damaging. But the question is it an opinion or is it a fact? And I mean, I think they believe it colloquially as a fact, but I think they express it as an opinion that they have come to about Kyle Rittenhouse. And so that's the big problem that he's going to have with those lawsuits. But, and we saw that with the Covington kids and with Nicholas Sandmann. Many of those comments about being racist and all of that stuff went right out the window. The judge threw those out. I think in the Sandmann case, they only preserved something like 3 lines or 3 words, 3 accusations against Sandmann, and threw out like 50 other lines that were said. So with that, I wish all of the best to Kyle Rittenhouse and his team. Godspeed. Fight the fight. I will cover it. I will promote it. I will revel in your victories. I will wallow in your losses. I think what they're doing is noble and good. I really do. The media is not. It's not the media that the founders set out to protect. The founders set out to protect media because media was people. And then media became companies, and it became a shocking few companies who wield the power to enforce homogeneity amongst news coverage, which is nonsensical. And so it was supposed to be, in their minds, it was something different than what we have now. And I think the media companies that we have now would make the founders kind of cringe a little bit. So I am all for holding media accountable within the scope of the First Amendment. But the First Amendment does not give the media or anybody else license to lie for the purposes of destroying someone's life or livelihood, despite the fact that so many people think it does. That is not protected speech. It has never been protected speech. And in fact, it was so unprotected that prior to defamation law, you know how we resolved these issues? You know how we would have resolved Kyle's issue in 1680? Fat fucking idiot Cenk Younger comes out and's like, he's a murderer and he murdered white men. Well, it would have been pistols at dawn, motherfucker. That's what it would have been. Or swords. It would have come to physical violence and possibly death. Because that's why defamation law exists. It was to stop the people who would kill someone over their words, because their words did have the power to destroy, the right words from the right people. Well, now the right words from the right people, those people are all over the place, and the right words are pervasive in society. And all you need is a retweet from the right person, and suddenly your tweet, your humble little tweet to 3 people is being seen by 100,000, 200, 300,000 more. All people who suddenly, based on your magic words, decide to hate someone. And I mean, it sounds silly and ridiculous, but it's true. It happens every day. So this all just goes back to the idea. There are people who are like, oh, Nick's talking about defamation. He doesn't believe in free speech. Actually, let me tell you what I do believe. I believe that defamation law shouldn't exist. I would prefer pistols. I think it would make everybody a little bit more cautious about how they approach things. I think it would resolve a lot of conflicts. I think it would stop a lot of lies being said about people. But that said, we don't allow pistols. So in the framework that we have a First Amendment. It protects the freedom of speech. But the First Amendment has never protected speech that was intended to destroy through falsehood. It was not. And so with that, until we have pistols, we have lawsuits. So there you go. That's my opinion on Kyle Rittenhouse and what's going on. He has some major, major hurdles. But you know what? One last thing. Sometimes the fight is more important than the win. The big risk in all of this stuff is losing and having to pay your enemy's legal fees or whatever. But sometimes the fight is worth that risk. The fight itself is worth that risk and is more important than the win, because sometimes you just need to. It's like what was that when let's make this really gay. Frieza was fighting Goku early on in the Frieza saga, right? When the Frieza Goku like 70 episode fight begins, and Frieza folds his arms and fights only with his feet. And he's fighting Goku. And then eventually he opens his arm and he punches Goku, right? And Goku laughs and Frieza's like, what? And he's like, well, you said you'd only hit me with your feet and you screwed up. You had to use your hands. It means I got to you. That's what you sometimes have to do. That's what you sometimes have to do. You have to make them unfold the arms, because these people walk around. They're immune. Look at how they treated Sandman. Look at how they treated Kyle. Look at how they treat anybody. They're a vicious machine of destruction. But if you just nick the armor a little bit, then maybe the next spear cast goes through. So anyway, that's Kyle Rittenhouse. I think it's very, very important what he's doing, and I support him in that. Tara Rayner says, Viva missed my hilarious chat earlier. Your favorite Canadian now lives in a communist country. This chat may not be legal, but Truck Fudo, he is sending bullets to stop an authoritarian to Ukraine. Question to follow. Oh my gosh. FOG Smitty, no, I've not gotten the latest thing. I have not. Nightwave Radio. Hey, what's up, man? I owe you a mild apology and also a proposed date. I said I would come on to ROTC. I mean that. I meant it then. I've just been so fucking busy that I lost track of it. I was thinking about it earlier today. I was like, I better say hi to Mersh and let him know that I still want to come on and come up with a date that'll work out. So I heard did you guys get a strike? Did you guys get a strike? Someone was talking to me about a strike. It might've been an old one. I didn't know. But he says the TPUSA crowd is going to chew Rittenhouse up and spit him out. Sadly, that's something that I've been concerned about with Kyle for a long time. When someone has handlers, the question is, what are their motives and how much are their motives playing into things? So I hope that he's in good hands with his, with his family and people that he trusts, along with everybody else. I don't know of anything particularly bad going on, but I hope for his sake that he is protected from the interests of others. And I hope that someone has worked to protect that $925,000 that he got after his case is over. Not my fault. No, I think the quartering, as long as what the quartering is saying about people is true, he should be able to say whatever the hell he wants. But when people use a falsehood to intentionally destroy someone else, that's what I say is not protected speech by the First Amendment. Because it never has been. It never has been. It's an assault or a battery by words. It is an assault that causes economic harm and impact on someone who otherwise was not engaged in anything. They're just doing their thing. And so if you start lying about someone and cause them economic harm or personal harm or whatever, then yeah, you're liable. Your speech is not protected by the First Amendment. The First Amendment does not give you the right to make fraudulent assertions about someone to their detriment. That's an infringement of their rights. And so the First Amendment does not actually permit people to do that. So, but so long as what you're saying is true, then yeah, go for it. All right. Tara Rayner sent me 2 more chats that I think are follow-ups to the other one. Says, shouldn't Trudy send bouncy castles and anthem singing truckers with flags? They're scary and dangerous, apparently. Brigade, I may need a sponsor to move to the U.S. Asylum, maybe. There's a proposal to add Canadians who supported the truckers into the list of asylees that are possibly accepted by the United States. I don't know if that proposal will get adopted, but I hope so. X Lazing X, do not dare slander me. I do not like pineapple on pizza. Pineapple on pizza is revolting. Okay. Next, we've got this Reeves trial motion hearing. Gosh, I don't know if I want to get into this. What the fuck is Zaftig? Bring a full round figure, plump. Oh no, Razor, what are you doing? You're criticizing the uncriticizable. So that's quite enough of Ben Shapiro's Zaftig sister in my timeline for one day. What is Abby Shapiro everywhere? All of a sudden? What is happening? What is happening? Okay, that's not what I was looking for though. Okay, so I think I can quickly do the part that I want to get to with some summary and some quick notes on this without watching the whole thing, because it's gonna take a little bit. So here we go. Gosh, look at this. Look at this sorry excuse for a judge. Okay, so here's the judge. So here's the setup. They have Curtis Reeves' team has an expert witness tomorrow. They have an expert witness that should be testifying tomorrow, and that witness is going to talk about a whole lot of stuff. I believe he's their use of force guy. He's also a ballistics guy, and he's everything. What they're arguing about here is limiting parts of his testimony. And so they had, before the judge actually sat down, the 2 attorneys were trying to hammer this out and figure out what this guy's going to be able to talk about and what he isn't going to be able to talk about, because the prosecution has some objections. I just want you to listen to the prosecution's arguments on this first section, and that's all we're going to do. So fast forward past the defense, but they're prefacing this as, we largely agree. They largely agree that he's going to get to testify, and most of the stuff that he wants to talk about is going to come in, but they have a couple things that they need rulings on from the judge. And this is the first one. And I want you to listen to what the prosecutor is going to argue here, because unless I heard something wrong, it's pretty ridiculous. And it's not super long on this part. So here we go. Whoops. We're going to have to crank this up on here as well.
Random law on this. And Judge, as far as an exhibit for this particular hearing, I'm going to rely on the exhibit number 5 that I attached to the Dalbert hearing that has all the photographs. But
okay, so real quick, so a Dalbert hearing is a challenge to the scientific analysis of an expert witness. Okay. So that's sufficient for the purposes that we're talking about today.
So you don't have to dig it out. May I just approach with it?
Yeah,
so
that'd be great. Thanks.
Right. You know what this is? Full pictures. Yeah. And those are the ones that are in the PowerPoint. Can I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
If you've not been following this, that judge is a female, even though she looks like a 1978 man handing out Budweisers to kids on the beach. And the prosecutor is allegedly a person, despite the absence of a chin. Many people have confused him for a turtle or a pug dog or some other hideous monstrosity. Certainly full of soy, if nothing else.
Thanks.
Yes, ma'am. And 2 cases.
Okay.
May I go ahead and begin, Your Honor?
Uh-huh.
Your Honor, I've handed you exhibit number 5 that was attached to the state's Daubert motion and this particular issue.
Okay.
Those are all of the photographs that were taken by Mr. Knox during the time that they had an opportunity to go into Cobb Theater. Your Honor, what I did for you.
Okay, real quick, just as backstory, after the incident, this expert went into Cobb Theater and took independent photographs of everything on behalf of the defense. So that's what happened. So that's part of what's going on here is they're talking about those photographs. These are after the event photographs of the venue itself.
Is Mr. Escobar showed you the PowerPoint presentation. Those are the ones with the yellow sticky. So the yellow sticky on there, just so you can find them. Mm-hmm. Those are the ones that are in the PowerPoint. What I'd like to do, Judge, is we're in the same situation we are with playing the preview, the discussion that we had.
Okay, so just in case you haven't been following this trial closely, one of the things, so this shooting occurred during the previews playing before a movie, right? So during the preview time, this is when the shooting occurred. The defense wanted to actually play the list of previews that was playing because no one bothered to find out what preview was actually playing at the time. The police did not ask anybody, did not write it down, did not check with the theater, did not cross-reference the list with the timestamps or anything like that. So they don't know which of like the 6 or 7 previews that played was actually playing at the time of the shooting. So the defense asked to play all of them to say, hey, we want to let the jury know what was actually playing on the screen in this dimly lit theater so that they can kind of get a feel for the scenario that's going on. This is a perfectly reasonable request. Something was playing on that screen and they have some idea of what it was. This is an action movie, Lone Survivor, and all of the previews are action movies that are being played because they're targeted towards people who are more likely to go to those movies. So the context of why this matters is those previews tend to be louder and engaging rather than like a Nicholas Sparks slow burn sort of thing. You're going to be, it's like Michael Bay. There's going to be lens flare and explosions and noise and gunfire and that sound that's in every fucking movie trailer nowadays. That's all going to be going on. And it's so when people maybe can't hear something that's being said a row or two over, it explains like why, and it contextualizes all this stuff. They wanted to play those. Not only could they not play all of them, they could not play any of them. The judge said no, they were somehow prejudicial to the state. So now the prosecutor here is trying to liken the use of photographs of the crime scene to playing movie trailers because he won on the movie trailer thing. Yes, that is what this is about. This is about not allowing photographs of the scene of the crime. And you'll see why when we get into it.
As far as recreating and simulations. Now, I understand that this was done at Cobb Theater. But the other issue, and the reason I captured an informant at Dalbert, is because of the scientific principles that have to be relied on in order for this to be fairly and accurately. And this is what they want to do. This is what Mr. Reeves could see. And that
He's going to argue that photos of the theater in which the shooting took place, of the place in the theater where the shooting took place, are not fair and accurate representations of what happened. That is the argument from the state. That is the ludicrous argument from the state here. And he's couching it in the scientific aspect of a Dalbert hearing on an expert witness, because he's going to argue that a camera lens does not capture the same thing scientifically as a human eye. And I wish I was fucking joking that a prosecutor is literally going to stand there, a prosecutor with video and photographic evidence of their own, and argue that photos are inadmissible because they are not to the same standard as a human eye in the scene. And if you don't believe me, let's listen a little more. Here it comes.
That's what Mr. Knox testified. The whole purpose of this is what Mr. Reeves had an opportunity to see. So when you deal with that, what are you dealing with? You're dealing with someone's sight and the eyes, human eyes. And if you recall my Dalbert brief, Judge, I went into great detail about how a camera lens is not the same as a human eye. And there must have been 5 or 6 articles that I attached that clearly indicated that that is not the case. And so this is a Dalbert motion in which the defense has the burden of going forward and showing to the court, hey, a camera lens is just like the human eye. And a camera lens is going to reproduce that snapshot that a human eye can. And therein lies the problem, because we know that the human eye is very sophisticated. It is able to adapt to changes in light.
Camera lenses can't adapt to changes in light, y'all. There's no such thing as ISO. There's no such thing as low light compensation. There's no such thing as aperture. None of that exists because apparently cameras cannot adapt to changing light conditions.
It has a peripheral vision that captures.
And again, cameras don't have various lens focal lengths that provide all sorts of different fields of vision. This is so fucking ludicrous that this guy should be catapulted into the goddamn sun for this argument.
Ambient light, that's all the articles that I gave you, explaining how the eye can absorb so much more light than a lens of a camera that is set by the aperture, and it is focused on that narrow beam. And that's what we...
No, but the aperture and the narrow beam and the lens are all variable. They're variable sometimes in the mechanism of the lens itself, and others by just swapping out the lens. They have macro lenses, they have micro lenses, they have fisheye lenses, they have all sorts of lenses that can replicate what actual things were going on. This is nonsense.
We have here. So the cases that I gave you, which is Pierce and Brown, deal with demonstrative evidence. And the requirement for that demonstrative evidence to be admissible, there has to be that type of...
The cases that he's citing obviously and of course have nothing to do with using photographs in a criminal trial, something that is done in, I don't know, literally every criminal trial that exists. The demonstrables that they're talking about is they brought in a styrofoam head and stabbed it with a knife in front of the jury. A styrofoam head to show how a knife would penetrate. But styrofoam and human skulls are different. So the scientific validity of stabbing styrofoam with a knife is is not quite on the same level as a camera versus an eye, in my opinion. This is why prosecutors are so dangerous. This is why people don't like them.
Similarity where it's not misleading or confusion. So we not only have the Daubert issue, where the defense hasn't proffered any type of testimony indicating that a camera lens can actually recreate what the eye can see, that they have, while presenting nothing, they have failed that part. It's their burden. I have given the court all the information it needs so that you can look at it and see that that's just not the case. So I understand why they can't bring someone in and say that, a camera lens is the same guy. You can't. So once we have that Daubert, if that's not the case, then if you look at Daubert, because we have to rely partially on scientific evidence, then we look at whether or not it's actually an aid to the jury. If you can't meet that standard, because the eye's not the same as the camera.
Runkle in the chat says the judge should be allowed to deny this argument with a bat. Can you believe what he's arguing right now? How can these photos be an aid to the jury because they're not the same as a human eye? And again, the state has introduced gobs of photographic and video evidence in the case, and in every case.
And we know that's not the case, then it doesn't aid the jury. Therefore, you don't meet the Daubert standard. The other one is that based on Pierce and Brown, exactly what is the criteria? If you're going to use a demonstrative aid, what does it have to be? Let's get past Daubert. We've already talked about that, but they haven't even met those requirements. Again, because the camera lens cannot do it. Now, can we say, okay, it doesn't make any difference. It goes to the weight and not the visibility. Here's the problem with that, Judge, is pictures. Now, I've been on a lot of cases. I know pictures. I have a case that I lost in 1990.
Shocker.
Tory boat wreck with Barry Cohen out at the Walsingham Bridge. I had one picture out there that caused the pictures. That's what they look at. They don't care all the explanation from NASA and everything, or we come in and it's what they see the picture, it's gone from them. So you put that in front of them with an expert that says this fairly and accurately represents the silhouette, then what it does is they take that to heart too much, especially when.
Doesn't matter what NASA says. When they can see something in front of their eyes, they believe it, which of course this guy relies on constantly. Constantly. This guy can't win. As a prosecutor, you could never, if you don't have pictures of something, you're not winning a damn case ever. What are you gonna do? They have pictures in financial crimes. They have pictures of everybody, everywhere, constantly. They got to put pictures up because the jury needs to see something that they understand. In a Rut says, update, cut off finger. Now I can't flip people off. I regret everything. I should have just washed the finger and moved on with my life. No, you've done the right thing. You've taken a rapist out of the system. Nathan Lai says, Your Honor, no camera lens has ever captured my chin in a picture, and I assure you I have a strong, manly chin that I shave while the defense expert rails my girlfriend. IWD says, this fool is making an argument that I imagine prosecutors made at the dawn of photography, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was rejected back then as being idiotic. Amazing. Scarlock says, objection, Your Honor. The soy puff marshmallow man doesn't even have eyes. They are soy products made to appear like eyes, making him neither an expert on eyes nor photography, as one requires real eyes to analyze images. Blaine Storm says, this prosecutor is so much older than he wishes he was. Dee Thomas as a prosecutor sounds like Dak Shepard in your Flashcast intro. Yeah. Says here you robbed a hospital. Why'd you do that? Generalissimo says, with the flabby face, he must be familiar with downward departures. To be fair, he might structure his sanity around the idea that things like cameras, mirrors, and terrified children can't adequately reflect what other people see. Oh, shit.
We all know in the courtroom that's not accurate. So when we argue, well, it goes to the weight, not the visibility. When you're dealing with an expert who's proffering it under the guise of being an expert and I know what I'm doing, then you run the potential of that carrying too much weight and they don't do their job and consider whether or not they're going to believe them or not. And that's the potential. And that's how 403 works. That's always been the potential we have to look at.
Now, the reason he's doing this is because this judge, frankly, doesn't understand the rules of civil procedure or the rules of evidence. That has been evident throughout the entire trial. Her rulings are like coin tosses. They don't make sense. They're not linkable to any actual language in the rule or principles of law. She just is running this thing by the seat of her pants. And it's been really frustrating to watch, actually. But yeah, so this is why he's doing it, because he knows she might be dumb enough to grant it. And I held off on calling the judge dumb, but I can't figure out why. Judge is dumb.
To what extent is it so much they will just not do their function? If you run that potential, then you really got to think hard about whether or not you're going to put it in front of them. So in this particular case, we also have a situation where the background you can see is not the trailers that were back there. And that's why we get back to the Brown and to Pierce. We don't know at what point, a decision was made. Was it dark? Was it light? Was it dark? Was it half dark?
And it literally, I'm gonna be done in just a second, but this is so baffling to me. Their argument on the movie trailers. So here's the problem. It's dim in the theater because the house lights are down, right? Because the trailers are playing. Who knows if it's as dark as the regular movie? Usually it's a dim and then a full dark for the regular movie. But Chad Olson, the guy who was shot and killed, he is standing up and his back is to the screen and his front is towards the defendant, Curtis Reeves. When you think about what that means, and this is why the defense wanted to do this, to put this at the jury. They wanted to they asked if they could get a light meter and sound meter, but the police never did it. They wanted to recreate the lighting conditions in the courtroom for the jury. They weren't allowed to do that. So then they wanted to play the trailer. But the problem is when the trailer is playing, there's light behind Chad Olson. Probably flashing light or changing light conditions or whatever. And so when he's facing Curtis Reeves, he's a silhouette. He's not as easily discernible because the light is coming from behind him. So he's arguing because we cannot know the exact moment in a particular trailer in which he was shot, these images of the silhouette are not admissible. That's his argument. Because they don't know the exact second and what was on the screen behind him. And the reason they don't, by the way, is entirely because the police department didn't investigate it. The Pasco County Sheriff's Office did not investigate what actually was on the screen. They could have at the time done that. But part of the defense's theory in this case, and it shows to be relatively true, that they didn't do much of an investigation at all. And so because the sheriff's department didn't look into it, the defendant wasn't allowed to, by the way. He wouldn't have a lawyer for another day. It's not like he gets to conduct an investigation when he's arrested for murder. So the only people who could have done it at the time was the sheriff's department. So since they didn't do it, they now are arguing that any evidence about that time is unfair because they didn't do their job. And that is the shit that makes the criminal justice system such a fucking disaster, that is so dangerous, and why you want to avoid it at all costs. At all costs, because it could cost you your life.
Whatever it was, whatever the flickering on the screen at the decision to make, nobody knows. So what they did is they took, and I believe all of them that they want to use or have a white background, they said, okay, this is a silhouette. This is what it looks like. And they put it in the theater. So you not only have that issue, but then you also have the issue, Judge, if you look at, I believe, 2 of those pictures have a red line that goes right to the chest. And I talked to is it Doctor? Dr. Knox about that. Oh, that's just a string alignment, it's not trajectory or whatever. Well, what is the jury going to do back there? They're going to see that red line in the picture. They're going to see how the mannequins are positioned.
Yeah, so because they actually put a red line indicating where the bullet roughly went into his chest, that's very, very prejudicial, again, to the state. The reason that's prejudicial to the state is because when you analyze how it was, he was squared up. He wasn't backing away. He wasn't turned away. He wasn't running. He was imposing and intimidating on the defendant. So of course it hurts the state's case. I'm done talking about this for now tonight. The judge, for her part, did actually make the correct ruling here. She was a little hesitant with not allowing photographic evidence in a criminal trial that already has significant photographic evidence based on the idea that photos are unreliable compared to a human eye. This is the dumbest shit possible. And it's a scumbaggy move of a scumbaggy prosecutor. This guy's been slimy throughout the trial, and it's the stuff about this is the stuff you hate because you want the criminal justice system to work on the merits of the case that the state is able to build against people. But if they're not allowed to, when someone's personal ambition over a high profile case, their personal prejudices, or just their simple desire to win rather than seek justice comes into play. Oh God. So there, I just, this prosecution team has been getting more and more absurd, and I really kind of hate them. Yeah, Breck, I saw the stuff about Alec Baldwin, how they found, he said he pulled the hammer back and then it just kind of went off and it was, it fired on its own. He didn't have anything to do with it. And they found out that it's possible to happen on that type of gun. It's like, that's actually not the question. He pointed the gun at a person that he wasn't, you're not supposed to point a loaded weapon at someone. That is a reckless disregard of the risk that you're creating. But that being said, let me read a couple of these chats, and then we'll get on to the Preston Poulter topic, I guess. Well, we'll do a bumper of Mike Dunford. We'll quickly hit the Preston Poulter lawsuit update, and then we'll bring on Eric Allen maybe to talk about Unbreaded. Ricada Space Law says, Shin-Chan, this imposter is not an attorney. Shin-Chan, this imposter is not an attorney of space law. If these damages aren't remedied, I'm not going to be able to feed my 5 kids, 3 cats, and half a dog. Roby, 1485 says, you said unwanted penetration as I was sipping my bourbon. The burn may be lingering, but I'm still laughing. I needed that laugh today. Thanks, buddy. Hey, you're welcome. You're welcome. Eli 580 says, Kyle's best friend name is Black. How can he be racist? Malcarian says, Nick, regarding raising other men's kid, my stepdad was my only dad since before I could remember. He married my mom when I was 2. He raised me for all of my life. When he passed, he refused to have me listed as his stepson. He said, blood is piss. Love is all that matters. He is my boy now and always. Oh, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Very, 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 very cool. And I'm glad your dad did that, right? Hitman 1 says the First Amendment does not protect the media unless it's free speech. It protects the press. Yes, correct. There probably is a distinction now between the media and the press. Okay. Let's see. Where were we? Oh, yes. We'll do this quick Mike Dunford thing. And I'll point out just a little bit again about that This is the problem when you say academics, please rise up in the realm of law. Who's this? Oh. Okay. It's just a short thread. Where is it? Gosh, these people tweet way too much. Spend so much time. Okay, here we go. All right. This shan't take too long. I don't know that I'll go through his entire thread because these people write too much on Twitter. Twitter is not the place to do this stuff. Okay, so Mike Dunford says a thread in which I mostly support Nick Rekieta. Nick is dealing with a system that is fundamentally broken on multiple levels. He has a very solid, although not as good as he thinks, fair use argument. And the deck is unfairly stacked in law and crime's favor. But every damn time I've seen Nick talk about this dispute, he's managed to open his mouth and shoot his fair use argument squarely in the damn foot. Usually because he just cannot disengage his ego for long enough to think how what he says plays into the fair use factors. The system is broken. Fair use is at best semi-codified. Okay, so this is the problem. We're going to get this right out of the way, right out of the gate. As stated at the beginning of the video, Mike Dunford hates me. Okay? Mike hates me as a person, and that's fine. I probably deserve it. With that said, Mike hates watching me, he hates covering me, and he may miss some things. But the other thing that's important to know about Mike is Mike is an expert on copyright to the extent that Mike doesn't actually practice law, and that Mike is never in the practical application of these things. Mike is always in the academic realm of these things, and that is fine. People need to be academics from time to time, I guess, even though it is always, ridiculous to talk to them when rubber meets the road. The academics are always surprised by what happens. But here's the deal. Mike will never consider the possibility that there are multiple reasons why someone would conduct themselves in the way that they do, especially in regards to a practical and broad strategy that might involve legal questions. For example, Mike probably cannot figure out why I would put an overlay that calls law and crime cucks on every video I'm doing during the possibility that they are going to sue me for copyright infringement, because that's not a very diffusive tactic, right? That's not calming the waters. That's not acting in some like esoteric legal interest or even a direct legal interest. That could be exposing me to something, but he can't figure out that there might be another consideration than what he's read in some book somewhere to that strategy. And so with that, I mean, that alone is enough to get into this. But first of all, I think Mike is far overselling what I have said about fair use on this case, because I don't think Mike is actually listening. Because remember, Mike doesn't like to listen to me. And when he does, he listens at 2x speed, and he listens with absolute disdain and apathy. One of the reasons I don't listen to things at 2x speed is because it's dismissive of what's being said and how it's being said in general. And that's why I don't do trials at faster speed. I want to hear what the jury is hearing. I want to hear what's being actually conveyed. And so when people ask me to do it, I typically say no. Now, I made exceptions in Kim Potter's case when Regina Chu was just repeating instructions over and over. We could fast forward through that stuff. That didn't matter. But all right, here we go. let's see. The system is broken. Fair use is at best semi-codified. Factors are set out in the copyright statute, but they are derived from judicial decisions, and the courts have basically total control over interpreting and applying them. Yep, that's correct. Fair use is always an argument, and at the end of the day, it's kind of what a judge wants it to be. And you're really stuck with the judge's interpretations of things, and that's a hard reality of the system. It's a risk. It's a risk to making a fair use argument. Fair use is not the first line of defense in my case, by the way. It's like the third or fourth line of defense in my case, but that's okay, because it is the ultimate, basically the end of the case. Because if you do find fair use, then you win automatically. It's a get out of copyright jail free card. But there are other issues there. So that's resulted in a system that is famously flexible, but flexible in ways that basically mean that fair use is the right to hire a lawyer to defend anything you think is fair use. Correct. Put another way, nearly anything arguable as fair use has a non-frivolous counter argument. Yep. Nick's fair use argument isn't remotely terrible. At the end of the day, he's commenting on newsworthy public proceedings, on what happens in court, what is said, and by whom. That what is, in Nick's view, good advocacy or bad advocacy, the quality of legal arguments. Yep. All that is very much in line with the purposes listed in the preface to 107. Copyrighted material should receive at best tissue-thin copyright protection. He's used in this case the materially found comment-worthy, not the whole. That's 3 of the 4 factors. I'll deal with the 4th when I talk about Nick shooting himself in the foot with his mouth thing at the end of the thread. Great. The deck is stacked in law and crime's favors. DMCA effective evisceration of fair use places 100% of the risk of any fair use claim on the user and effectively none on the copyright owner. So what he's saying here, and I'm going to skip through some of this, he's saying basically that law and crime has no risk for filing a DMCA takedown if the takedown is based on fair use. So if it comes down to fair use factors, they file a DMCA takedown, I file the counterclaim, they can say, we did a fair use assessment and we determined that it wasn't fair use. And I can say, I did a fair use assessment and I determined that it was. That eliminates bad faith on both sides for the most part. I know this. I've talked about this. That's fine. That's the risk. And so then a judge comes in and resolves the issue. And then you're really not entitled to much of anything, maybe attorney's fees, maybe not. It sucks. It's a shit system. But when people have asked me, will you go after law and crime if your channel is actually taken down? It depends. It depends. Now, the channel was not taken down for 7 days, so there should be no interruption to my normal business, and all of that is fine. I don't have to worry about that at present. There's always a chance that they'll do something else in the future, but for now, this is kind of a moot discussion. But it's why I couldn't commit to saying yes, because you really need something to anchor your bad faith argument in, and they should have known this wasn't fair use really isn't a place that you can do that very effectively most of the time. It can happen. It's just really, really near impossible. Okay, so if the use isn't fair use, Nick faces a possible lawsuit. If he loses on fair use, he has strict liability for copyright infringement, including probably statutory damages and possibly attorney's fees. It's a large disincentive to stand up and face the demands. Yeah, statutory damages are up to $135,000 per incident. Very, very, very expensive. Meanwhile, if law and crime loses on fair use, at the most, they will be responsible for Nick's attorney's fees, and even that isn't a gimme. I think there should be a strong presumption, blah, 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 but there isn't one, which I just described. The only way for Nick to recover any damages, he will be restricted to provable damages. There are no statutory damages here. Is for him to show that law and crime acted in subjective bad faith. This is difficult to prove. On fair use, it is very difficult to prove. Although, I will say, it's possible in this case. It is actually possible in this case because the fair use protections on this type of cover, or the copyright protections in general on this type of coverage, are so thin on their face that they should have known that this falls into any reasonable fair use analysis would be exceedingly strong. But that being said, Mike's not saying anything wrong here. We're going to get to that in a minute. No matter how good the argument is, no matter how much actual damages result, blah, 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 the odds of recovery are low. Great. On the whole, then, I've got some admiration for Nick for sticking to his guns on this one. There's incredible incentive to cave in the face of even the most bumptious takedown demands. That said, though, there's one huge hurdle Nick's facing on this one located between his nose and his chin. And this, again, when you sound like Mike Dunford, when you speak, you would think anybody else talking is a problem, because no one wants to hear you speak. That's just the sad reality of it. That's the one of the personal hurdles that Mike Dunford has. He is unable to do this, though he somewhat tries, because he just isn't that good at it. And that's okay. That's okay. I'm not good at baseball. It is very difficult to prevail on fair use as a practical matter if you're using the copyright owner's material to compete with them in their usual exploitation of the work, which I am not doing. Which, if you think about it, kind of makes sense. That's the fair in fair use. It's also often... see, this is... the transformative nature of the work tends to trump this because it tends to take it out of the... out of their usual exploitation of the work. Mike is going to make a big conflation here. He says, it's often an explicit part of the transformative use analysis. Are you using this for a thing different from the thing the copyright owner usually uses it for? If yes, it's much more likely that your use is transformative, which mine is. Very, very transformative use because, again, what law and crime offers, and I've said this over and over and over again, what law and crime offers and what I offer are two fundamentally different things. They offer just a bare rehash of what's going on in a courtroom. That's it. Nothing else. They are just delivering the live news, factual, informative work that's being done by other people. They're watching other people do things, right? Just total cuckoldry. That's what they're up for. They are not adding anything to it. They're not talking about it. There's no analysis. There's no education. There's no comedy. There's no criticism. There's no comment. There's nothing. This is just a bare recitation of facts. It is literally a video of a tree. That's it. It's just a video of a tree. Could be beautiful, could be hideous, could be boring, could be exciting if the tree, I don't know, falls over or whatever. But it's just a video of a tree. What I do is fundamentally different because I am offering a whole bunch of stuff packaged in surrounding that footage. And the stuff that I'm offering is of a different character. And as I have said over and over again, anyone who does not like the product that I'm offering should go to something else because they're not interested in commentary. Then they should go to Law and Crime, which is different. It doesn't have any commentary, no criticism, no education, no opinion, nothing at all. That's why they should go there, because it's different. So it says, and Nick, bless his heart, keeps saying stuff about Law and Crime, just being mad at him because he's out competing them. No, I'm outperforming them. It's not a competition because they're not my competitor. But they are mad about the numbers. And Mike, what Mike misses here, and I think it's because, again, with his 2X listening, to be fair, I don't know if he did that here, but I'm going to make an assumption that he did, or he just truncated his listening and cut out this part. The reason I mentioned the numbers is because Law and Crime mentions the numbers. They're mad that I'm outperforming them. And I know this because they said so in their letter. And the other thing is, it doesn't really matter if you're in the same market or not. When we're in the same medium, which is YouTube, there is an objective amount of numbers involved. There are views on videos. Now, my commentary videos would be vastly different than some other type of video, but they are still in the medium of video and they are still on the platform of YouTube. So despite me having, like, I'm not peeling open legume shells in fucking Southeast Asia, but there are a lot of channels that do that and they somehow get millions of views. Money laundering. Just fucking view scam. That does exist, right? Like there are tons, there's naked yoga that exists. Now I can measure my YouTube performance against naked yoga. That doesn't put us in the same market. If you're watching me for naked yoga, it means I made like 200 million followers on Twitch or something like that. But in general, you're not watching me for naked yoga. They're vastly different things. There's no competition between me and nude yoga. And in fact, I've said over and over, there's effectively no competition between YouTubers in general on the platform because you can always just watch both. There's nothing stopping you. There's nothing preventing anybody from watching both videos or watching two things or watching any myriad number of things. There's not a time limitation on it. It's all there. It's all there. It's why, like, if I'm talking about the same thing as Attorney Tom, it doesn't matter because taller people will watch my video and shorter people will watch his. And that's just how it goes. But if a tall person wants to watch Attorney Tom's video, it doesn't mean that that tall person isn't going to watch my video or that there's somehow competition there. Mike is running into the issue of not recognizing the practical application of these concepts that he's got running around. And I don't think it's because he's dumb. As much as I call him dumb, I don't think that's the issue. I think he's myopic because I'm involved. So those remarks will be real problems if this goes to court. 38 people really hope so. We'll see. I doubt it. So on the whole, I favor strong fair use, and I think there's very strong public interest argument in allowing fair use of minimally creative at best recordings of public proceedings. Thank you, Mike. Me too. I think Law and Crime's position on the merits isn't terribly strong, correct? But Nick Rekieta is currently the strongest advocate for the legal position that Nick Rekieta is not engaged in fair use. Well, if I'm the strongest advocate against myself, that means Law and Crime's position is exceptionally weak, and I'm not worried about it at all. Still, I'd much rather see Nick win this one /Finn. And so thank you, Mike, for the final thoughts there. I do think that his analysis on there is largely informative and largely correct. I will say, I do think that Mike misses the forest for the trees sometimes because of me. And it's not his fault. I'm not blaming him. I'm not blaming Mike. He doesn't like me, and that's fine. I will remind Mike that I was friendly at first, just because I'm going to do it every time, you big dummy. I was very friendly to you. Even when you were saying I was like wrong and whatever, fine. I was like, hey, come talk to me about it. Let's talk. We don't even have to talk about this. Let's talk about something else. We have some common interests. I think it'd be cool to talk. I like talking to other lawyers and law-educated people. And Mike chose to be rude. And then Mike got mad when I responded with rudeness. But Mike, you chose to be rude while I was polite. There's the reminder that you need to have every single time. And if you remember, you even had to own that when I had to remind you that I was polite at first. Because at the end of the day, you're just a random person on law Twitter who thinks that dunking on Twitter gives you some sort of credibility in anything at all. But it never did, and it never will. So have fun, Mike. I'm going to make fun of you pretty much every time. Also, you're fat. Okay, so with that being said, let's see. We'll go, we'll get into... Are we at Daily Unbreaded time? Oh, we got the Preston Poulter shit. Let's get Eric on. Eric Allen says, I know you hate Twitter DM, but I sent you aloha from there. Just a second, Eric. I might be pulling you in just a minute. Yeah, here we go. Let me send you the link. Eric, go ahead and pop on. You can help me out with the Daily Unbreaded. We can talk about what's going on with Matthew Harris, because I think that's important. Man seems perfectly normal and well adjusted. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. Just checking got to check all these windows now every time. I cry every time. Joe Schmo 1 of 3 says Twitter life is not real life. It is not. It is not. Twitter isn't real. El Gonzo says, do you think the fact that the prosecutor and the judge are both retarded and said intelligence deficiency only seems to go one way would make good grounds for appeal? No. Zalcor says, you know me, I believe all laws are illegitimate and IP laws are especially bullshit. Oh, hey, here we go. We've got Eric here. Let me welcome him to the stream. Hey, man.
Hey, what's going on?
Not much. How are you?
I'm doing good. I was amazed. I was getting ready to go to bed, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna send him a message, and I'll be like, yeah, I'll be pre 3 a.m. And I was like, I was gonna go to bed at like noon or midnight, but it's Eastern Standard Time for me. So.
Okay, so we have so we want to get you out of here in 50 minutes. I want to be out of here in 50 minutes too.
I feel that.
Okay, so we are going to talk about Matthew Harris, the Manifesto. I have the daily unbreaded segment. Are you cool with being on while I do the reading of that? I mean,
I can't tell you how excited I am to be a part of Unbreaded.
Okay. I mean, I am routinely surprised by this because I'm like, these are pretty spicy. I never know if someone wants to actually be on for the reading itself or wants to participate, but no,
I'm very excited.
Excellent. I need to
I almost sent you a super chat earlier today about Unbreaded, but I figured chat would have figured that out, and they did.
Unbreaded. Okay, so talk to me before we do the reading. Talk to me a little bit about Matthew Harris, then we'll do the reading and maybe we'll talk a little bit more about it. Oh, wait, real quick. Many people know you, but some people might not. You joined during the was it Theodore Edgecombe trial?
Yeah, I jumped on with Edgecombe's. So I was talking about the wife of the deceased.
Right.
So we were talking about how her story was a little bit odd and her reaction was a little odd, and that made sense based on my opinion of like what that all worked out to be. But chat didn't agree 100% with that, but I only saw that after the fact. But chat's terrible and wrong all the time, so I was cool with that.
Look, everybody, we all come to the table with different experiences, skill sets, and everything else. And some people, look, as much as it creeps me out, some people will pick up the lima bean pineapple salad and start eating it. And I'm like, why don't you just eat the roast beef? I don't get it, but that's what they like. And that's what they do. So, no, it's good. That's why I like the chat, because they're chaotic and unpredictable. But yeah, so we were talking about grieving and dealing with loss, especially sudden and traumatic loss, and how that manifests. But today we're talking about something wildly different. And you have a degree in psychology, master's degree in psychology, if I remember
I have
right.
a couple degrees in psychology. I have a certification in ecosystemic trauma-informed family therapy and a bunch of other certifications as it relates to behaviorism and running programs that have a bunch of therapists involved in that. So yeah, a lot of that stuff.
Okay. So that gives you some qualification to talk about this. So tell me about this guy.
Yeah. So
what do you see?
Actually, it was one of my first questions was going to be to you, like, as a person who's not a psychologist, like, what did you think about his testimony? Because to me, like, I had my own biases and I was yelling at the TV and I was going to send you super chats, but I was with clients. So, I had a lot of that. So I was actually wondering, like, what your original opinion was of him. And I was going to see if I dismantled it or if I supported what your opinion was, because a lot of that,
who are we talking about?
Of Michael?
I was talking Matthew Harris, the guy
Matthew.
Okay, you said his testimony.
Yes.
But he's not. We haven't seen him testify in court yet.
Right, but what I was asking, like, because what you and Bronco were talking about was with Matthew, because we hadn't seen testimony yet, as what was going on there beforehand, because I mean, I had my own opinion, but I hadn't seen if you guys had talked about it yet. Because I honestly, I didn't get to see Friday or Monday of what you guys were talking about.
Okay, yeah. Matthew Harris, he's been arrested, but it's in federal court, so I don't know that we'll ever get to see his testimony. So all we have is really the unbreaded texts, or the death sentences PDF, and then we've got a couple of those videos that I've watched, and he has a bunch more. But he also has his doctoral dissertation, which is out there. And so my opinion I haven't read his dissertation because I haven't had time, but I read the abstract of it. And the abstract tells me that what he's saying in death sentences, he believes, at least on some level and to some extent of it, although I think he gets sidetracked maybe by schizophrenia or something else. But there's this underlying core of racial, ethnic, or national identity being ingrained so deeply from birth that it is something to make us effectively very different people by those inherent characteristics. And he words it in academic terms in his dissertation, but in death sentences, he says it much more crudely and crassly, right? Like word on the street sort of idea. But a lot of other stuff is mixed in there. His, I think he feels wronged by a woman who he had feelings for, and that particularly that she ended up with a white man and maybe also a Jewish man at some point while he was pursuing her, and that gravely offended him. Also, he hates Italians.
He definitely hates Italians. I think so I'm not going to say things that you've already said, because I thought not only were you poignant but hilarious in your interpretation of how much he hates Italians, but I will say, like, he's definitely a racist. And I will be very clear about this. Like, his hatred for different races is pretty clear, but it seems like it's pretty inbred, like not unbreaded, but inbred, that he has been brought up to hate certain groups of people. So when he's writing all this stuff, he doesn't actually think that there's anything wrong with it. If you look at like what he's writing, he's not doing anything controversial from his point of view. Like, he's writing things, and it's not just the schizophrenia, because the schizophrenia would be things like, well, and the Daleks are telling me that I should get a smaller TARDIS because I have to kill all the people that are inside of it, and there's only 300 people, and I have to like get rid of those people, and I have to like make room for the 400 people that are good, and those only 400 people that are good are my friends and my family. No. Straight up racist. Yeah. Like, he's just a straight up racist. Like, he is very clear in his writing, at least from what, and I gotta say, like, I'm a little bit biased because I've been watching your streams, and like, you know, I'll get up in the morning and I'll watch your shit and I'll be like, oh yeah, like that's pretty bad. But like, you know, I've gotten back and I've read some of his stuff, but he's a straight up racist, and he hates Italians. He hates people of Arabic descent. He hates certain groups of people that he will be very clear about. Like, he doesn't trust them. They're liars. They're thieves. And that's like where his whole perspective is coming from. I actually don't think it's that schizophrenic. I think it's just pretty straight up racist.
Okay. The reason I go with schizophrenia is there were some emails that came out that I read I read the criminal complaint about him yesterday, and he was diagnosed with schizophrenia by a doctor and spent a short amount of time in some sort of treatment. Now, whether or not that diagnosis is accurate or complete, of course, is that could be a temporary break that someone has, or it could be something that is more long-term. But there's a couple things in the text where I go, okay, his brain just stopped what it was doing, switched completely for like one line, and then went right back into it. And it's either crazy or it's masterful, and I can't figure that out. So I'm going with crazy.
I'm going to go with crazy. I mean, listen, like, when he was diagnosed, I'm sure he had somebody saying like, look, dude, shut the fuck up, go with crazy, you're going to be good, we're going to get you in for 10 days and you're going to be fine. Because I was a crisis worker. Like, I know this. Like, I worked in a hospital. I worked with people who were like acutely messed up and like acutely depressed or acutely suicidal or acutely homicidal or like going through schizophrenic breaks. And a lot of the times we would talk to people, and I've worked with professors before, honestly, like actual professors at the local university, and be like, dude, like you're actually going crazy right now. You need to settle down. We're going to get you in for 2 weeks and you're going to be fine. You go back to work on like next Thursday. So I'm not like saying he didn't get that talk, but like the manifesto itself did not seem like it was written while he was in the hospital. Like it definitely seems like he wrote all of that while he was totally within his right state of mind, or at least as right of a state of mind as he could be. So I don't disagree with you. I think he was actually going through a psychotic break. He was writing this all out. He put this all out there and he was like, oh, this is totally normal. This is totally cool. Everything that I say, everybody's going to agree with. Because if you look at all the breaks in between, I've read all the different like statements that he made. It's not like he had a break and then he like took like a paragraph and a half and he's like, oh, but I don't necessarily believe this. No, he was totally involved. He was totally okay with all of it. And it was all one straight state of conscious mind. So I think that this was all part of the same crazy, either he was going through like a state of insanity, or he really believes this shit, which is even worse.
Yeah. I do think he believes, I think he believes it. I really do. I'm looking for something.
What makes you think he believes it, like actively, like today?
It's his, hold on, I'm trying to find, someone sent me the word cloud of the document and I can't remember where they sent it to me. I was trying to find it so we could actually pull it up. It's amazing. But the reason I think he believes it is because, well, it's based on when I read the abstract of his dissertation, right? And again, it's couched more academically and professionally, but it's basically, my blackness makes me black. His Asianness makes him Asian.
Yeah.
And when you take that and, as a premise that's written safely, and you combine that with, I don't know if it's pain, trauma, rejection, I don't know what got him there, but I think you're able to then, amplify and turn up those feelings and emotions, those lingering things. And that's the difference between simple racism and extremism, right? Is to some trigger gets pulled, and what is just generally a latent negative feeling towards someone based on a characteristic becomes a call to action or violence, or a call that, or a belief or a paranoia even, that they are the cause of your woes. And I think that's actually going on with him, in particular with this one woman, who is identified Dr. Catherine something at
I forget what her last name is. Yeah, but for sure.
Yeah, so that's why I think he believes it.
No, I actually, so it's funny. Like I think that his latent racism is against Middle Eastern people and Italians, because his language. I don't know if I've read too much into this or if I read too much of it, which is a problem. But I've read way too much of what he was said, and a lot of it is he has this latent racism of Middle Eastern people and Italians in general. Like he has a really big problem with Sicilians and Mediterraneans in general. And then when he's talking about people,
this like kills me.
You know, not that I trust Sicilians, but like what I'm saying is, like, you know, I trust them in a land war, unlike him. He has a lot of the shit that's going on in his head that is beyond that, with the woman, that he is the fixation of his anger, and he impresses that racism onto her. So like I see what you're saying, but like I actually think that he actually has a problem with a couple of people in his life, and then he has this like latent racism that he then imprints upon these other people. It's no different than like somebody who grew up in Georgia or South Carolina in like the late 1800s, early 1900s, latent racism, and then they get scorned by a New York woman, or like, you know, a black woman from Florida, and then they have all the same thoughts about those people because they're just like the people they were warned about. That's what it read to me.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, here we go. I found it.
Nice.
Someone did the word cloud of the document. I hope you guys are ready for this. Here we go. There it is. This is the word cloud of the document that you can find that is out there, or that someone put together. So Asian's way
Asian's a big word
prominently
there.
in this document. Yeah. He also has mongoloid. That's a good word.
Yeah, I love that word.
Harris is surprisingly small. It's here. I thought Harris would be in there a little bit more than that, but yeah. So a strong showing from the F slur.
Ottoman. I mean, Ottoman is smaller than Harris. Like that's weird to me. I mean, obviously, like it's pretty clear what the agenda of the person who blew this up was, but
no, I mean, I think this is based on the number of times that these things show up. That's the impression, because this is the king word in the text, 10,386 times. I think Asian is probably very close. I mean, heck, we can do a comparative search real quick. Control F, Asian.
Yeah, how many times is that shown?
It's working on it. There we go.
That means it's quite a few.
So Asian is 5,070. Asians is 3,024. So we've got 8,000 instances of Asian when you combine these two, versus the 10,000 of the N-word. So I think,
oh my God,
I think this is actually based specifically on Harris is here as well. Oh, he misspelled Harris.
I gotcha. That makes more sense.
Harris with two S's.
Yep.
He misspells it
right
frequently.
Here. It's right. People Harris.
Yeah.
Right up the top right.
Yeah.
Everyone fucking lesser mongoloid. This actually makes a lot of sense. And by the way, I have no fear. I have one video on my channel right now, so I have no fear of any of this shit that goes on here. You're the one that was supposed to get like stopped this week or today from being on YouTube. So I feel like we're both pretty fortunate today.
Yeah, we're it's all good. It's all good. Okay. So I'm sorry. You were saying that you think he does have this specific latent racism. Are you getting anything else other than just racism out of this, or like?
No, for sure. I mean, honestly, like he clearly has trauma. I would say there's trauma, not just schizophrenia. There's trauma going on here. Like this.
Would you say he got cucked?
I would say that Jack Murphy blatantly lifted his legs above his face in front of this poor child when he was only 8 years old, and then monetized it for him to see in all its glory. And that's what caused half of these problems.
Okay. That makes sense. I think so. Joe Schmo 1 of 3 says Harris wanted to be the Black Nietzsche, but his black hole was different than the abyss.
Oh, I have to say, like, honestly, I'm sorry. Earlier, I said Evil Dead 2, and chat corrected me. It was Army of Darkness. It was the director's cut. Just so you all know, like, don't give me a bunch of shit. Like, I know, but like that trial was making my brain melt. So like all Army of Darkness movies were melting together in my brain to make me like satisfied in some way. And that's what happened. So that's what happened there.
It's forgivable. It's forgivable. That trial is, it's amazing. The past 2 days, a bunch of interesting stuff has happened in the last 30 minutes of the past 2 days. But that means there was 7 hours of garbage.
I've been there for all of it. And I got to say, like, I've been working. I was in New York, and then I was in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I'm usually in Natick, Pennsylvania, which is like, or Natick, Massachusetts. It's usually.
Oh, I'm a world traveler. I'm so cool.
Yeah, okay, so cool. You know, so I've been watching all of your things on delay for like the last like 7 days, but I've been keeping up with the trial. But this trial specifically has made me fight to not slit my wrists. So I've done what I could.
No, dude, I fell asleep and hit my head on my microphone today.
I'm happy about that, because that means that you suffered the way that I did. So
yeah, it's bad. It's bad. I can't wait for it to be done. It looks like it'll be done on Friday, which is like, oh God. But
I'll be here. I'll be here tomorrow, but I'll be suffering.
Yeah, and sometimes I think the chat needs to suffer.
I'm happy about being a part of chat if it suffers. if I'm a part of chat and it helps it to not suffer, I feel actually pretty bad about myself. So, I'm going to not say much as long as it means that chat is slitting its wrist.
Good. Okay, so we're gonna do this reading from the book. How do you want to do it? Do you want to read part of it, or?
Yeah, happy to do it. Or if you want me to do it, that's cool. I'm very unbreaded.
Okay. I've got the random number generator here.
Let's do it.
So here we go. What do we got? Oh, I don't want to show my studio lighting. I can't see anything.
Don't show it.
453. Okay, I know exactly what this page is. This is one of the 120.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. You know the euphemisms.
Absolutely.
Here we go.
Is there anything I'm not allowed to say?
That's up to you. I mean, if you want to, I don't know if we should say the N-word over and over.
I'm not going to say the N-word over and over, but I just want to know about the kikes and like things like that.
I tend to say bikes, and then
Okay.
for the rhymes with blinks, I tend to say blinks for the chink in the armor, right?
Okay.
So that can that's probably those. I think those three are the worst. I'm fine with mongoloid and everything else. I think those three are the ones that really get you.
I will tap you in if I need help. Is that fair?
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead and you get started, and I'll try and scroll down. If you get to the bottom, I'll be going with you.
All right. So Asians, period. Shoot all the Ikes too. Shoot all the Asian programmers and students and entrepreneurs. Hunt Asians like rats. Hunt all the Asians out. Kill every bike.
Blink.
Blink. Hunt the blinks out of colleges. Bomb the auditorium. Bomb the gym. Bomb everything. So no one wants to go anywhere ever again. Bomb everything so often and so randomly that nowhere is safe.
Shit. I gotta stop.
Okay.
I gotta stop. I forgot. I'm terrible. Oh my gosh, I got wrapped up in the conversation. We'll have to start over. Here we go.
Okay.
My bad. I did not mean to dishonor the wise words of the Daily Unbreaded. So we will start. We'll start over. We'll start anew.
Fair. Did CJ on Goody tell you that?
No, the whole chat was screaming at me.
Shit. Okay.
Yeah, it was, which is my fault. So okay, you can resume or start over or whatever.
Let us begin. Asians, shoot all the bikes too. Shoot all the Asian programmers and students and entrepreneurs. Shoot Asians like rats. Hunt all the Asians out. Kill every blink. Hunt the blinks out of colleges. Bomb the auditorium. Bomb the college. Bomb everything so no one wants to go anywhere ever again. Bomb everything so often and so randomly that nowhere is safe. What do I say
Binger.
for N-word?
Binger.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Binger, kill all the bikes. Binger, kill all the blink mongoloids. Binger, kill all the red mongoloids. Binger, kill all the blink Ottomans. Binger, kill all the crackers. Binger, kill all the children of other tribes. Kill all their kids. Kill politicians that don't elect them anymore. Kill all the famous people. Kill everyone who is not a Binger. Kill all the civilians. Kill the civilization. Kill white civilization. Kill sharing Earth. Stop sharing life. Detonate every bomb. Plant every knife into a body. Burn every temple. Burn every white church. Shoot every mayor who is Asian. Shoot all Asian politicians. Shoot all the Asian store owners and college students. Shoot all the Asian business owners and lawyers. Shoot all the Asians. Shoot all the bikes to shoot all the Asian programmers and students and entertainers. Hunt Asians like rats. Hunt all the Asians out. Kill every blink. Hunt the blinks out of colleges. Bomb the auditorium.
You got
Yeah.
close.
I got close, but I got it.
Here, I'll take over when we get to this this lowercase here.
Okay.
But go ahead. Yeah.
All right. So shoot all the Asian store owners and college students. Shoot all the Asian business owners and lawyers. Shoot all the Asians. Shoot all the blinks or bikes too. Shoot all the Asian programmers and students and entertainers. Shoot Asians like rats. Shoot all the Asians out. Kill every blink. Hunt the blinks out of colleges. Bomb the auditorium. Bomb the gym. Bomb everything. So no one wants to go anywhere ever again. Bomb everything so often and so randomly that nowhere is safe.
All right. Binger kill all the bikes. Binger kill all the blink mongoloids. Binger kill all the red mongoloids. Binger kill all of the bike ottomans. Binger kill all of the crackers. Binger kill all the children of other tribes. Binger kill all their kids. Kill politicians. Don't elect them anymore. Kill all the famous people. Kill everyone who is not a binger. Kill all the civilians. Kill the civilization. Kill white civilization. Stop sharing earth. Stop sharing life. Detonate every bomb. Plant every knife into a body. Burn every temple. Burn every white church. Shoot every mayor who is Asian. Shoot all Asian politicians. Shoot all the Asian store owners and college students. Shoot all the Asian business owners and lawyers. Shoot all the Asians. Shoot all the bikes too. Shoot all the Asian programmers and students and entertainers. Hunt Asians like rats. Hunt all the Asians out. Kill every blink. Hunt the blinks out of colleges. Bomb the auditorium. Bomb the gym. Bomb everything so no one wants to go anywhere ever again. Bomb everything so often and so randomly that nowhere is safe. Binger kill all the bikes. Binger kill all the blink mongoloids. Binger kill all the red mongoloids. Binger kill all of the bike ottomans. Binger kill all the crackers. Binger kill all of the children of other tribes. Kill all their kids. Kill politicians. Don't let them and don't elect them anymore. Kill all the famous people. Kill everyone who is not a binger. Kill all the civilians. Kill this civilization. Kill white civilization. Stop sharing earth. Stop sharing life. Detonate every bomb. Plant every knife into a body. Burn every temple. Burn every white church. Shoot every mayor who is Asian. Shoot all Asian politicians. Shoot all the Asian store owners and college students. Shoot all the Asian business owners and lawyers. Shoot all the. There we go.
Holy shit. Thank you for doing the last part because it was so much worse than the first part.
No, it's the same. Exact same. Not. So if you this section, notice shoot all the is here.
Yeah.
And shoot all the is here at the exact same place.
That's right.
This exact page starts with Asians. This repeats 120 pages. Exactly like this.
Does it say box right after every one of those statements?
Well, you really broke up there. Hold on. I'll wait till your video's a little clear, and then we'll see.
Does it say shoot all the bikes right after that in every one of those times that it says it?
Yes, it's the exact section. So it basically.
So you're telling me this guy's even lazy in his manifesto against Asian?
I don't think he's actually lazy, because what he did here was like it's exact. The shoot all the and then Asians is exact on every page. It repeats the exact amount of times to get the exact same thing. I don't know. It seemed like.
So you're saying he's that much of a genius? Like, because
I think he just
a lot like he's rambling.
It seems like he's rambling, but I think he planned this out. I don't know. It just the way it works out is pretty wild that it works out exactly.
Yeah, no, I actually agree with that. I didn't notice that before, but it seems a lot more well thought out now that I'm looking at it page for page. That's pretty ingenious if what he really hates is Asians.
So like this whole thing like repeats on the same page 3 times per page, and then 4 times. So 1, 2. So wait, no, 1, 2, 3. So the whole message repeats 3 times per page. But it comes out the exact same on every page for 120 pages. It doesn't shift even a line. It doesn't shift a word. So I think he worked on the formatting of this section and then repeated it a whole bunch. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, it's not that weird if that's his main manifesto. That's the purpose of his manifesto. He hates Asians. He hates Asians. Like, you can say what you will about Italians and all of the manifesto. I mean, once I didn't read all of it, but I read through the whole manifesto. He hates Italians. He hates Portuguese. He hates Spanish. But like, he hates Asians. Like, he really hates Asians. Like,
yeah,
it's almost like to him and they were like, "Yo, we're gonna give you some money," and he's like, "Yo, you're not giving me money. I'm a professor at a prestigious college." And they're like, "No, we're going to give you money." He's like, "No, I'm going to write a specific manifesto against you assholes." And he wrote like this whole thing against them.
Someone asked if the capitalizations are in the same place. Yes, they are. And then he says, if you lay them out, do they make a picture? I don't know. I haven't printed out 120 pages of racial epithets from my printer. Because
please don't.
I don't know where.
Please don't.
I'll just wallpaper this wall in them. And then when my wife and kids come in and say, "What are you doing?" Nothing. Don't ask questions.
I'm doing shut up. That's what I'm doing. Shut up.
Ryan, the editor said, "You know what would be hilarious? Copy pasting each page into Microsoft Sam and letting it read it off. Siri, read this page, please."
So you have an Android phone now, and you have your iPhone. It would be really funny to see which one translates those scripts faster once you pump those scripts into both of those, and just record those, and for posterity, just see which one reads it more accurately than the other one.
No, God, that sounds horrifying. The Samsung phone might actually reject it outright.
Yeah,
Kosk says Eric Allen got that children's book cadence. Watch Tom run. Watch Sally run. Binger kill the bikes.
See Binger put on the wall. Look at the wall of maps. See maps run.
Oh my goodness. Let's see. Aurelianus says, "How it be, Nick? Halfway through that DUI, keep telling us what the law actually does. Love you, brother." Yeah, thanks, man. Good luck with that. That's DUI's not fun. Not a fun situation to be in. Andrew wore snowboard.
I'm sorry.
What?
You've defended people with DUIs, I'm assuming.
I'm not. I have negotiated a plea deal for DUIs. I typically would refer them out. It's personally, look, man, I drive around a car full of kids. That's when I try to avoid, because like I don't want my personal biases on the matter to get in the way of my representation. And they also require a high degree of technical knowledge about the equipment that's being used and all that stuff. And so an easy way for me to avoid doing DUIs was just to avoid brushing up on all of that. But the one I did, the client needed some specific things around the plea deal. But the understanding was always a guilty plea was because, I mean, it was guilty, very, very guilty of what he did. He was ready to admit it, but he needed some, and he could have done that on his own, but he wanted some help with the negotiation and with some other stuff, and got the results that he wanted. So that's what we did there. But I typically would not do DUI cases. Not a super huge fan of them.
Okay. I mean, I'm sorry. I just wanted to ask you. I'm home.
That's fine.
Obviously, this is my house. I don't drink anything if I'm not home. So.
Yeah. No. And like, I don't hate people who have a DUI or anything. It's just, one of the things that would really be difficult for me is if I defended someone with a DUI and they like ran into my family or, one of my kids' friends or something, at the next thing. And so it's like,
yeah.
But yeah. And so that I just didn't do them that often.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
But let's see. Well, so what I mean, this guy's crazy. That's pretty clear. But
Yeah.
are there interesting nuggets in there for you? Anything you've seen in there that really gets you? Because like I think that he strays close to some mainstream political ideas, both on the left and on the right.
Yes.
Various left and right ideas in there. I think he does get close, and then he's like, "Oh, and by the way, burn the Jews." And it's like, okay, well, I mean, that's, that's a bit far.
As someone who found out that I was Jewish when I was in my 20s, I could tell you, like, there's some serious trauma involved in this manifesto. Like, so for instance, like, he hates the idea of Judaism as a prescriptive way to live life. And I don't know where he got that from, but he was clearly traumatized from somebody who was like, oh, well, like, you should keep holy the Sabbath, and you should, Saturdays are kind of important, and you should probably stay away from shellfish, and you should probably, stay away from turning lights on and off during Saturdays. And you can see that through his manifesto, because he's a little whacked about where that all fits into his talk. So, I could tell you that he clearly hates, it's not even hate. And that's where I kind of wanted to talk to you about this. I don't see this as hate so much as fear. He's clearly terrified and traumatized by Judaism. And that's what I saw from most of the things that he's talking about prescriptively, where he's like, unbreaded, like, this can't be, like, you can't have these rules in your life, unbreaded. Like, he hates this stuff. It's not just that he has, like, like, I could tell you, like, I grew up Catholic, and, I could tell you, like, oh, well, we ate fish on Fridays. Like, you should probably be able to eat fish on Fridays. I could give you a good argument for that, and I could talk to you about it, Thessalonians, and I could talk about, like, Timothy, and I could talk, because I have clear understanding of biblical scholarship, but he has really clear hatred and aversion to anything from the Torah, like anything that relates to Judaism. He's like, oh, no, you will not do this on Saturdays. You will not do this on Sunday. You will hate this unbreaded. And like, that's like what he's talking about. So he's pretty much half the time when he's talking about unbreaded, what he's talking about is not Jewish. Like, he's
okay. I was going to ask you what you think he means by unbreaded. And so you think that means not Jewish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where do you
I think a lot of
get that?
comes, because a lot of the things that he talks about are specifically anti-Torah. Like, a lot of the things that he talks about, like, in his prescriptive rulings, he talks about things that are specifically anti-Torah. And it's not that he says every time there's a rule that goes against the Torah, he says unbreaded, but, like, he creates his own religion based on his ruling that everything that is from the Torah is absolutely out and should not be followed. And then everything that is post-Torah Christianity and then post-Christianity secular religion should be followed. Like, I mean, you just look at all the rulings that he makes, and it doesn't have to have unbreaded after everything for me to see that he's against the Torah.
Okay. Now, I hadn't picked up on that. So that's pretty interesting to see, because I haven't, like I said, I haven't seen that, but I'm reading them in, these isolated instances. So
yeah,
I'll have to look for it in the future and see if I agree with you. Because
now,
I don't know.
I don't know either. I want to be clear. Like, I'm not an expert in psycho, so I'm not an expert in this either. I want to be really clear about that. I didn't know that we were going to be talking about this guy today. If there's other things that you find that you're like, yo, this is not what he said, like, half this, I would be happy to discuss the contradictions and everything else in that. Like, that's what my impression is from what I read, because I read through the whole thing after what I saw you put out there.
So you read this entire 800-page thing?
Yeah.
You're insane. I think you're insane. I think you've got the problem here.
I have more than one problem. If I read this whole thing, I have more than one problem. But neither of those problems are problems with unbreaded or Judaism.
All right, man. Well, hey, thank you for popping on. Let me get you out of here because it's coming up on that 2 a.m. my time, 3 a.m. your time. And then I got one more segment to do and super chats. And then I got to get out of here so I can have tomorrow's show ready to go. So thank you for joining me, Eric. Always a pleasure to have you on.
Anytime. I followed Joe's advice. I got a YouTube channel that is The Life Coach on YouTube. So I'll be building stuff up there, and hopefully I'll be seeing you guys in the future.
Okay. Do you have the thing where I can tag you yet or not yet?
Yeah, I think so. It should be. It's on YouTube. The Life Coach. I'm the only one that's The Life Coach on YouTube.
Hold on. At The Life Coach. Well, there's The Life Coach School and Hamid the Life Coach. So
yeah, neither of those two. Those people asshole. Don't believe in China. I'm the life coach.
Okay, so it's not. See, there's something that you have to do to be able to be tagged on YouTube that I don't think you have yet. I think you have to get a certain number of subscribers or views or something. And get the custom. I think you have to get the custom URL. But I'll see if I can add your channel to the description. Okay. In a different way. Well, all right, man.
I really wanted to meet with Ty the other day. If you talk to Ty, just let him know I love him. He reminds me of my friend Bobby Lee, and I love him dearly. So just let him know.
Well, I'll talk to him probably in a couple weeks. He's gonna be nose to the grindstone getting this deal done. So it'll be a bit, but maybe we can all have a chat sometime.
I'd love to.
All right, man. Well, have a good one. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Peace.
Bye.
Okay. So that was Eric Allen. Fun addition to the show. Popped on during Edgecombe to give us some discussion about the wife and how she was dealing with grieving. And now he likes the unbreaded, which makes me suspicious of him. Eugene says, well, this guy is apparently well-versed in populational anthropology, mentioning mongoloids, blink ones, Americanoids, red ones, caucasoids, crackas, bingoids. But what is bike ottoman? Well, I some combination of Ottoman and Jew, I suppose. Skyrim 96 says, do you think a Jewish Asian took the last garlic breadstick at an Italian restaurant? Yes. Chris says, best friend's wife / mother of his 3 kids and 4-year-old suddenly wants a divorce. She's making up the worst things, restraining order incoming. Holier than thou, blames him for all kid issues, always high. Any suggestions for this poor soul in California? Lawyer up immediately. If you want your kids, lawyer up. I know you can't afford it. Sell whatever you own. That's it. That's it. Lawyer up and figure it out. There's no time to waste. There's no hearings to try out. If you want to fight, you have to do it. And it sucks and it's bullshit, but that's it. Andrew War Snowboard says, can you please stop saying the C word for white people? I suggest replacing it with blacker in the interest of diversity and inclusion. No, I cannot. That is my word. That is my word, and I will use it to own the Republicans or whatever. SC Medic 71 says, obviously he has excellent rhythm. Touch down on paper, unbreaded. I don't give a shit. Oh my goodness. Okay. We've got one more segment to talk about, and I'm really just going to talk about it because there's not a ton. Like reading the documents gets really mind numbing and eye-wateringly boring. And this is the story of Preston Poulter and his lawsuit. I know I've told this story recently, but Preston Poulter is a man who was pegged by his wife for money and uploaded those videos to the internet for money. So that was the idea. If you don't know what pegging is, it is not my job to help you with that. That is what he did. That is his legacy. I don't care what else he's done his entire life. That is why I, in full disclosure, invited Preston on because his initial response to getting pegged, and this sort of sub-dom relationship that he had with his wife at the time was, yeah, that's just what I'm into, and I'm good with it, and all, it's a little bit weird to have it out in public, but that's what it is. And I was like, oh, that's cool. That's actually a cool response. And I wanted to talk to him. I mean, there is going to be some mild ribbing for his pleasure. Ribbing. Fuck me. There's going to be a little bit of mockery, but all in good fun. And what I really wanted was to have him come on and discuss the nature of kink, the nature of, doing this within an intimate relationship and all of that stuff. What he decided to do instead was, without telling me, blow off doing my show at the last minute. And so, with that, he had the chance to say his piece. Also, it turned out that all of his talk about how it was just what he was into and everything was fine, that was all bluster, because what he was doing, other than that, was actually starting various campaigns against the people who had talked about it, and turns out he was actually seemed to be deeply ashamed of his actions, and as he probably should be. But if you're going to present yourself as cool with something, but then act in contradiction to being cool with it, then you weren't really cool with it and you were lying, and that just seems to be the case. So with that, and yes, there is a Drex stream on that, Bucking Fuffalos 69. Drex was going to be on the show with me while I talked with Preston about this. I needed to bring on my expert in the field of degenerate behavior. And so Drex was there. And when Preston backed out, it turned into, we invited Ty Beard on to just have a good old stream. And it was great. It was a lot of fun. It was a great stream that we did. This is a while back. But that stream exists on the channel. I don't believe it's locked out or anything. I don't believe it's one of the private streams that I'm slowly releasing. So you can probably find it. But it was a great show. Great show. But that was all before. So then what Preston does is, he's an independent comic book creator and publisher, and he crowdfunds his creations through either Kickstarter or Indiegogo or whatever. I don't really know which platform he's using at the time. And he hosted something, a crowdfunded comic for a guy named John Lamont, and another independent comic creator named John Lamont. John Lamont created a comic called Demonatrix, which is a shitty name for a comic book, because Demonatrix is the name of a particular faction or race on the show Charmed. So if you're going to name your crowdfunded project after something that you will not be able to find on a Google search, because it'll be buried in the CW's multi-trillion-dollar marketing arm for the Demonatrix part of the Charmed show, your thing is never going to be found ever. And it's actually really difficult to find any information about the Demonatrix comic book. However, it is discoverable. It is out there. And the failed Kickstarter campaign is still archived by one of the sites that archives Kickstarter campaigns. With that, I'm not going to pull it up, because I've talked about it before. I've pulled it up before, and it's just stupid. But the story of the Demonatrix is about a 17-year-old girl. Now, this is according to the comic book and the author himself. A 17-year-old girl who is having some sort of problem summons a sexual demon that happens to look like a naked minor. And the demon's name is Lolita, who introduces the 17-year-old character to tons of new sexual experiences. This is, again, according to the description of the comic. Now, with that, there is also art that has been created for the comic, and that art does include nudity, and that art does seem to show the demon as a questionably aged character. Okay. The 17-year-old minor is already a minor, but it's 17 and it's drawn. It's not that big of a deal, but with the inclusion of the demon that looks a lot like a younger than 17-year-old child, you start to get into really fucking weird places. And so some people, specifically some weirdos by the name of D.A. Talks or Dean Asif and Vickyverse, Vicky, whatever her name, Victoria or whatever. I don't know her name. It doesn't matter. D.A. Talks and Vickyverse had a show and they discussed this particular comic book. And in the course of their discussion, they determined that the comic book's contents was what they considered to be pedophilic, and that the people creating the comic book and sponsoring the comic book have some pedophilic tendencies or maybe pedophiles themselves. And that was the beginning of things. They then invited a friend of mine named Ethan Van Sciver onto their show to discuss this a little bit. Ethan went on and said that he was going to protect the Comicsgate trademark, which this is a whole dramatic backstory between Preston and other people and EVS, but Ethan owns the trademark to what is called Comicsgate. Comicsgate Live has been the name of his show, I think, before anyone else's. I believe he's the first person to use the word Comicsgate in trade. Not the first person to use the term Comicsgate, but to use it in trade as part of his daily live streams that he was or is doing on YouTube. And then subsequently that grew into promoting comic books from independent comic creators who wanted to align themselves with the Comicsgate label. There was a challenge to the trademark that was proposed by a guy named Vox Day, someone I've spoken to quite a few times in the interim. And Vox eventually withdrew his attempt to quote unquote take the Comicsgate trademark. I think there may have been some miscommunication in there with what was going on, but Preston then made it his mission to take the Comicsgate trademark. In fact, filing a trademark request for the Comicsgate mark for him to be the owner of the mark, despite knowing that Ethan Van Sciver had been using the mark in commerce longer than him. Then there's an ongoing trademark dispute between those two. I believe it's still going. I don't know. So Ethan Van Sciver popped onto this show and he discussed defending that trademark because he doesn't want someone producing quote unquote child pornography or other materials like that under the Comicsgate trademark. And he's the person with the duty and responsibility to protect that brand. So that is kind of the genesis of this. And because of the live stream discussion that went on, Peggy, Preston Poulter, decided to sue, along with John Lamont, decided to sue D.A. Talks, Vickyverse, and Ethan Van Sciver. This is all old news to many of you. But he sued those three. They sued them in Texas. Now, interestingly, neither D.A. Talks nor Vickyverse nor Ethan Van Sciver are in Texas, happen to be in Texas with any regularity, have any business dealings in Texas. And so what this should have been was a quick dismissal of all of the claims for improper venue and lack of personal jurisdiction over the people. This was filed in federal court in the Fifth Circuit, which is Texas, or which includes Texas. And this was filed in Texas in the Fifth Circuit. I think Northern Division of Texas, which is Dallas, but I don't quote me. It doesn't really matter. I don't remember. But that's where the suit took place. Now, Vickyverse alleges that she was never properly served, although there is an affidavit of service that the court is taking as presumptively correct, and the court has determined that she was served according to DA or according to Preston's representation, that she was served, and that she is now in default, that she has a default judgment against her. And that is that. So she is liable for some level of damages. I guess I could see if that number has been determined yet. Were I Vicky's lawyer, which I am absolutely not Vicky's lawyer. Okay, so they still have to. Oh, excuse me. They still have to make a motion to the default judgment. Who is this? There's an objection. Why? No. hold on. Okay. The plaintiff's objection to magistrate's report. Okay, yeah. So they want to bring Ethan Van Sciver into the thing. They're going to probably lose on that. I think they did lose on that. Yeah, they did lose on that. Okay. So what? Sorry, got sidetracked when I saw a different order. There is not currently a judgment being entered against Vicky Verse. She is, there's a default judgment, but that judgment has to be ordered, and then a judgment amount has to be entered before she can be required to pay anything. Now, if I were Vicky's lawyer, I would be challenging the default judgment based on improper service. Vicky has maintained and has alleged and maintained the entire time that she does not live in the state in which she was allegedly served, that they have an old address for her, that they did not deliver the documents to her, that is not her, that she was not served. I don't know the truth of that at all. I don't know Vicky. I don't really care. I don't know if she was personally served. I don't know if she lives at the residence that they claim, but doesn't want to, be out there for doxing purposes or whatever. And that someone else at the residence received the documents on her behalf, which, by the way, if like in Minnesota, if someone serves an adult or someone over the age of 16 in the house where you live, then you are served, whether or not that person delivers it to you or not. You are served for the purposes of the rules of civil procedure in Minnesota. I would assume that whatever state Vicky Verse was allegedly in had the same rule, but that only applies if she's actually there. And she says she's not in that state. I think she says she's across the entire country on the other coast. So I don't know, but that is the allegation. If I were Vicky's lawyer, I would start to, I would be, now that the magistrate's judgment is in, I would be motioning for to vacate that judgment based on the grounds of improper service. That's me, but I'm not her lawyer. So I don't know if she has a lawyer. She says she does. And if she does, I'm sure that motion is coming. She'll make a special appearance solely for the purposes of vacating the judgment and saying she was not properly served and not properly a part of the suit, and disqualifying Preston from anything because he failed to properly serve her within the time frame required by the rules of civil procedure. All right. Ethan Van Sciver, he made a motion properly after he was served at, I believe at his home or whatever. He filed a motion, and his motion was to dismiss the lawsuit for lack of personal jurisdiction. This is the correct move. He also asked the court to find that there was no legal merit to the claims and to dismiss the claims with prejudice. The court declined to do so, instead taking the easier route of saying there is no personal jurisdiction over Ethan Van Sciver in Texas because he doesn't live there, doesn't go there, didn't direct his behavior there, doesn't have contracts there. There's no tie to Texas that is discernible here. So the judge dismissed Ethan Van Sciver from the suit, which he should have done with Vicky and with Dean. But the problem is Vicky claims she wasn't served, and Dean has a different problem. Okay. Dean is DA Talks. DA Talks, instead of filing a motion asking for dismissal based on improper jurisdiction, he filed an answer. This is a problem for lay people because they are told that they have to answer the summons within 21 days. And he did. He answered the summons. He filed that answer. And in the answer, he did not motion for a dismissal based on improper jurisdiction. If you do not motion prior to answering or as part of the answer for dismissal on that ground, you waive the right to make that motion. So Dean is not allowed to motion for dismissal. He did file one after the fact. He filed a motion for dismissal based on improper jurisdiction. He lost that motion because, guess what? He waived it by filing his answer. And that is a big, big problem for that. Now, I do want to say that there's a lot of chatter about Spectre, a gentleman, one of the people in my Discord, by the way, and he is alleged to have helped Dean draft his response or some motion. I don't know the full extent of what Specter did with or for Dean. I have no idea how much he was involved in that. But I do think that Dean drafted his own thing prior to Specter helping him out. I'm not sure on that. That's my recollection of things. And so if that's the case, Dean got himself in his own hot water. But Specter's involvement in that case could range from just a mere assistance in compiling and drafting something, formatting it properly, all the way up to what would be called the unauthorized practice of law if Specter is not actually licensed to practice law, which I don't believe he is in Dean's state or in any state. So that is up to someone else to figure out, someone who has a more intimate knowledge of what they have engaged in. But that is a real possibility that there is a minor criminal act that has taken place. But my understanding is that Dean shot himself in the foot by filing that answer first, prior to asking for dismissal based on personal jurisdiction. So the current state of the case is that Ethan Van Sciver is out. They made a motion to bring him back in. The judge denied it by accepting the recommendations of the magistrate. It's a product of federal court. We're not going to get into it too much. Ethan Van Sciver is out. Vicky Verse currently has a default judgment against her, and Dean is still in the case, and the case will be moving forward against Dean. I still think they all have very good defenses against the alleged defamation, but they're going to have to actually, hire a lawyer to do it. Dean did crowdfund some money allegedly for hiring a lawyer. I'm not sure what the status of that money is. I didn't even know about the crowdfunder until very recently. So if you contributed to that, you may need to ask him what happened to the money that he was supposed to spend on an attorney, but didn't. Or did. Maybe he did. I don't know. So that's that. I saw a lot of people saying I had not covered that. I swear I covered it when the magistrate's decision was released. I have not covered it since the magistrate's decision was released. And now the district court judge has adopted the magistrate's recommendations, which I said that was the most likely outcome, that the magistrate would adopt the recommendations the judge would adopt the recommendations of the magistrate, and things would move forward as they were. Again, I still think that there is possibility for either a dismissal or a victory for Dean and Vicky. But they have to get their shit in order to fight this thing. And it sucks. And I think Preston's trying to use the court system to bully people. He's trying to use his alleged moneyed position. I don't know. There's rumors about him having some trust fund or independent wealth. I don't know if those rumors are true, but he's accused of doing that for the purpose of punishing other people who can't afford to fight back. And so that's the state of it. Again, I believe I said roughly all of this a couple months ago, but if I didn't, there you go. I saw it from several sources, people saying I had not covered it. So either they missed it or I'm dumb and I just thought I did it. And that's the end of it. I don't really want to sit and dwell on the Comicsgate lawsuit drama because it's not really Comicsgate drama without Ethan Van Sciver in it. Now it's two retards on the internet being sued by a retard with a dildo in his ass. That's the summary of this case. Two retards on the internet being sued by another retard who has a dildo in his ass right now. Okay. So there you go. There you go. That is the update. I've done my service. Can I stop paying attention to that case for a while now? Tell me if Vicky ever gets her shit together and fucking files the obvious motion to vacate. I think it's either Rule 55 or Rule 60. Same thing that Joshua Moon ended up doing because he was not properly served. Whether or not she was actually properly served is a question. She is only alleged that she was not properly served. We have no idea whether that's true or not. If it's, that's going to be the critical factor for her. If she was not properly served, she can get the judgment vacated pretty easily. If she was properly served, she's fucked. LT Hobbit says, want to gain muscle, want to lose weight. I have a 90-day customized plan for anybody who's serious. Check me out on Twitter, Colonel Phoenix at Iron Blooded Temple. Mention nose for 50% off. There you go. Apparently my nose is getting people big discounts. Big money, big prizes. I love it. So there you go. That's that. All right. I'm going to wrap up and read the chats for the night. Oh, shit. There were chats. There were a couple chats that I'm going to read from earlier. My little 8-minute live stream had some super chats that I missed because I was not prepared to capture all of the chats that came in. I was trying out a new system, and because of that new system, I need to modify how I do things. There's only a couple when I use it in the future. And yes, that system involves a potential call-in feature that I mentioned. So we'll see how that goes. That's going to be something coming up. Has my nose been working out? It looks pretty buff now. No, my nose is on steroids. I have a nasal steroid to try and get my sense of smell back. So far it's not working. I'm sorry, not to get my sense of smell back, but to reset my sense of smell to what it's supposed to be. And so far it is not actually functioning. But I have no idea. I think I have like a 30-day supply of this shit. So by the end, my nose is going to look like a rich piata or something. All right, let me read these. These are from the earlier, very brief live stream that I just did to test and see if I was banned or not, which I am obviously not banned. Pincalo, the driving ape, thank you for the thumbs up. Charles Johnson, did you see Ralph's interaction with Kyle? Not really. Someone sent me something that I saw, and it looks like Kyle had tweeted something to Ralph and then realized that it was Ralph and then deleted the tweet. Is that what happened? Did anyone see that? I don't know. I don't know what happened. Yeah, Ethan Ralph. Let me see. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I'll find the thing. I was trying to discern what had happened, but I didn't have a ton of time to look into it, and I was very confused. But I think I can find it very quickly here. Here we go. All right. Let's see. I'm trying to okay. Help me figure out what this means. So, Cringe Mama tags the Ralph retort, how embarrassing, ha ha ha, tags me, Gator, Flamenco, Poetic Goddess, Worski, Jim, and Jeremy Hambley. And so it says, noted, Rittenhouse responds to Ralph tweet highlighting Schenk's slander. I woke up yesterday morning and wondered why my old Kyle Rittenhouse, whatever. Okay. I think I see what happened. This, I think, is from the Ralph retort. I think Ralph wrote this article. And then after the article, it was deleted by Rittenhouse. Is that what happened? Oh boy. That's pretty funny. If that's the case. Okay. So that's that. Damn. Ouch. Ouch. Okay. Well, there you go. No, I in my brief look earlier, I didn't see what that meant. Or what was happening in that tweet. So thank you for sharing. Sassy Gal Beauty says you're free. Instructor Mike, yay, you're here. I'm rooting for you. Eugene says, is that TikTok thing younglings keep talking about? Greg Bellata, not banned, but still unbreaded. Warrior on paper. SJ Shady says, do you have Parkinson's? Lol, just kidding. No, I just, my hands do. I have minor tremors holding things. I don't know. Who knows? Probably related to the lack of sleep and too much sugar in my diet. Elian says, hire arms girl. Jeff O'Heffo says, Bush did 9/11. Weaponized autism says, YouTube heard that you were taking nose steroids and decided to back down. Congratulations, Nick. Poker says, thanks for making me feel better about my selfies. And L.E.N. says, get some Z's, Nick. I did. I took a nap between shows, and I'll take a little nap between shows again. And then I can sleep when I'm dead. All right. Jeffrey Smith says, in need of a Second Amendment white pill. I know you have to be careful here. V-word is never the answer. Second Amendment applies, it may be someday. We can't communicate or organize. Left is emboldened by today's tyranny. Well, the beauty of the Second Amendment and its purpose was that you would never have to organize. Right? The way the Second Amendment is supposed to work is that everyone is a militia unto themselves. That they are certainly at the call of the state in cause of insurrection, in cause of invasion, in cause of foreign agents or domestic agents rising up, that every person would be able to be called by the state. But that's only part of it. The rest of it is that everyone is their own personal militia. Not that has any legal meaning or merit or definition other than everyone is armed to the point that they can defend themselves, and that they would defend themselves against tyranny. And that if the tyranny is the oppression of the state, that the state would be rather liberal in their oppression, right? It's not like the state would tend to oppress when they're, I'm not talking about injustice here. I'm talking about outright oppression. Tyrannical acts don't tend to target one person. They tend to target people groups, areas, the entire populace even. And so the idea was that everyone would be armed and a militia unto themselves, and that any action, any tyrannical action, must be faced with the possibility that behind every door is a shotgun. Wasn't a shotgun at the time; it was a musket, but or a blunderbuss or a cannon. But that's the concept, that every government agent sent to every house to enact the tyranny would be subject to the bullets of the property owner. And that is what needs to be the case still. Violence is not the answer. And the Second Amendment is not a proponent of violence. The Second Amendment is a proponent of the idea that violence is an unwanted alternative to relaxing tyranny. That's the purpose of the Second Amendment. That they would rather relax their tyrannical plans than engage in violence against the populace, because the populace would be armed. That's why it's every citizen's duty to actually have a gun, so long as they're not mentally incapable or something like that. Eli 580 says, I tag you on Twitter for some ideas for Rumble to upgrade some issues. Do you look at Twitter when people tag you? No. And it's not that I don't look at it. It's that I get so many notifications that individual tags get really, really difficult to find, and I often don't see them. So, DMing is better, but that suffers from a similar problem. Email is okay when I check it. So there you go. I hope that helps you, Jeffrey Smith. With that said, Chris D'Angelo says, wait, I read that one. Jay Liebgott says, hey, Nikki 9 Doors. Good to see you alive and kicking. Toast to you. Hey, back to you, buddy. Joe K. Rip to Mark Lanigan, singer of the Screaming Trees and some Queens of the Stone Age songs. One of my favorite voices of the grunge era. 200-watt studio. I'm with Nick. Eat a bag, soiled peens, lawn grime. Mario Carter says, Kyle put down maps. Now he's weaponizing map. Circle of Snakes. The thumbnail is on Twitter, by the way. Saved. Oh, great. Thank you. Jillian Seed says, congrats on not getting showed. Carrie Phillips, super chat of $50 the other day by mistake. Love your content, though, and glad it went to a good family. Oh, sorry, Carrie. I wish I could help you with that. You can certainly request a refund through YouTube. They don't ask me about them, though. I don't have any control over it. I don't. If I had the ability to issue refunds to people on mistaken super chats, I would do it in a heartbeat. But I don't. And when you request it through YouTube, they don't ask me. So if they do, I'll click yes, but they don't. So if it was a mistake, please request a refund. You will not harm my feelings on that. Not applicable says, does Mike hate you the way you hate me? Lol. Yes. Matthew Self says, what is the new painting to your left? It's not new. It's Robute Gilliman, robot girly man from Warhammer 40K. I have not decided where in my office to hang it yet, but I will soon. Happy says, Whoopi will fart her way to welfare after lawsuit. The Marshallist says, congrats on backing those cunts down. Well, Long Crime didn't back down yet. They have 10 to 14 days to unback down, but I think they have a real legal problem with making their filing within that 10 to 14 days. They can still sue at some point in the future, but getting a lawsuit in 10 to 14 days, they would have to have an existing registration on their of the copyright, which they don't. Sorry. Great US says, wrong. Second Amendment equals anyone has the right to self-defense, even if they are batshit crazy. Well, yes. But I'm saying it's the duty, which is different than the right. Okay? So everyone has a right to self-defense. Absolutely. But the people who are mentally sound have a duty to have a gun. There's a difference. Let's see. 200-watt studio says, law and grime like to get railed daily by hobros. Trad and Based 801 says, did you see the rug burn on Elijah's face? Does he have grounds to sue John Goldman? I have no idea what you're talking about. No idea. Ryu Woodware says, your chat is full of simps and furries in my case. Yes. WZRBS sent a hippo crushing a chair and it says wrecked. That's great. That's what happens when fat people sit down. Kevin Zulik says, I had a tornado touchdown in my town at 1500 and it jumped over my neighborhood and hit a few houses down. Lucky no damages or injuries. Damn. I'm glad everything worked out okay. Tyrannogast says, is Mr. Beast unbreaded though? Seems that was not Mr. Beast in the chat, but likely an imposter. So that's that. Attorney IRL says, YouTube to rackets about live streaming. I'll allow it. Blake Pritchard says, Jordan Peterson is urging Canadians to withdraw their money from banks based on high-ranking military source. Trudeau will do something desperate in coming days. Very possible. That is the financial warfare of the masses if they can communicate enough, because Canadians don't have enough guns. Mandy Karavich says, hey, Nick, want a yiff? I'm not a furry. Not a furry. Oh, Mandy, by the way, I've heard there's some chatter about people desiring the Rekieta Law leggings. I went to go reactivate the listing today, but some of the listings that were included in that have been discontinued, and I think they discontinued the actual legging that they were on and got a different brand, maybe a different source brand. And so now I have to redesign them, and I didn't have the original design that I used handy. I got to find it. Or I have to come up with a new design, one of those two. But because of that, I'm working on getting it reactivated. I don't have it right now, but I am working on it. So, Greg UW says Mr. Beast is an unbreaded cock, pledged 10K and ran. I don't think that was actually Mr. Beast is the trick there. Also, you can't donate $10,000 on YouTube. You have to, the maximum you can donate is in $500 increments. On Twitch, I think or Streamlabs or whatever, you can donate like a massive amount, but not on YouTube. Doesn't work that way. MK Perez says, I don't have the scratch for 10 grand. So here's my fraction, since it seems like Mr. Spoof Beast isn't a man of his word, Lasai. Don't worry about it. When he said the 10 grand thing, I was like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. Shannon says, how do you feel about Mr. Dan Abrams' show Court Cam, where he provides commentary on court cases that Law and Crime didn't stream? I don't know. Maybe they pay the license fee. Although someone did send me some footage. Someone did send me some footage from an older case where it seems that Court TV was just lifting someone else's stream from the internet, not from a pool feed. Kind of interesting. Might have to look into making a video about that. Matthew Self says the reason Noseman doesn't speak about Russia is because he's secretly KGB. Okay, well, let us not be hasty, all right? You're speaking unapproved speech, and unapproved speech is not approved. All approved speech is approved, and we will be visiting you. It's okay. You can get back to camp. You go back to the camp. Nice food, good weather. Hang out to do lots of work. You get strong. Come back, work for the party. It's fine. Eli 580 says, DM'd you. Feel free to check it out. And it's really cool that you were top feature on Rumble the whole night. Keep up the great work from a bike that enjoys your stream. Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's see. The Meep Kid says Curtis Publishing Company versus Butts, not Times. Well, New York Times versus Sullivan is the case with the public figure doctrine being established. And then I think Curtis Publishing versus Butts is is that where it gets expanded to celebrities maybe? But I think I think Times versus Sullivan needs a look by itself, actually, because Times versus Sullivan was partially based on race, in that it was favoring Martin Luther King and people associated with them during the Civil Rights era, and in any other era that against racist cops in Atlanta. And so I think it was Atlanta, but in any other time in the country, that case might have been decided very, very differently. Zeminski trial update with Photo Chad. It's pushed back still. It's like not till March or something now. Squizgar 2322 says, haha, imagine being modded. I may be a fat body, but at least I'm not a mod. Yeah, very important to not be a mod. Jonathan Ferrier says, unriced, on origami, seppuku. Kyle Clucken says, have you looked at Minnesota SF 3377, SF 3378 gun safety laws currently headed to Minnesota Senate? If not, you should. It's quite a breach of Second Amendment rights. I'll have to check them out. I'm not aware of them. Dustin Caldwell, welcome to Paralegal Status. Brewing Bear, what about Quartering's idea of just burning their money? I have some Canadian dollars. I thought about burning or shooting with an arrow or something. Kiernot says, I hope Kyle earns FU amounts of money from these lawsuits and then use that money to completely feck over the entirety of establishment media. Maybe. Saberjet says, if you look, I'm 100% sure that the Young Turks or CNN or someone specifically said that the jury made a mistake and that he murdered 2 people in cold blood. Oh, I'm sure somebody said that. FOG Smitty says, did you get my latest gift, Dad? And did you have a chuckle? It'll be from Evike. I have not gotten a gift yet. It's probably at the post office. The weather the past couple of days has been really bad. And some stuff didn't get delivered. I was supposed to get a SIM card today, for example, that didn't show up. And I haven't been to that was supposed to come to my door, and then I haven't been to the post office. So We'll get it checked tomorrow, though. I think the storm has passed now. Tara Rayner says, shouldn't Trudy send bouncy castles? Oh, I read that one. Greg UW. In 2022, the spirit of media/journal from the founders is more whistleblowers going direct to the public with tech, not organized propaganda. That was always the spirit of journalism for the founders. Journalism at the time of the founders were individuals in cities who decided to print pamphlets and hand them out, or just to handwrite pamphlets and help people handwrite them if they didn't have access to a printing press of some sort. They would write up pamphlets, have people copy them and distribute them. Newspapers were independent organizations. Major cities had multiple newspapers competing all the time. And they were heavily biased, all with frequency. Like this idea that they were these neutral bastions of facts and no, they weren't like that. They built their trust with their audiences. It was actually much more like today's new journalism. New journalism smells like old journalism. There's the middle cuck journalism that no one actually likes because it's not true. It's not honest. Let's see. Not applicable says everybody prefer pistols till they get aired out. Jeffo Hefo says slander should be legal. Maybe it should, but it's currently not. Fire Sky 15 says when you make God bleed, you win. Some guy who fought Iron Man. Tara Rayner says, I joke, but with my dad and the death of freedom in the same month, it's hard to hold on to the hope the truckers created. Yeah, well, the government boot came down, and it does. It does. It always does at some point. Nathan D says, is it time to revive our tradition of the U.S. trying to conquer and spreading our liberties to Canada? That'd be great. Tara Rayner says, the judge looks like Tom Petty. She kind of does. Holy shit. Renee Villarreal says, after so many lies, people will crave honesty. I think people crave honesty and people crave earnestness. I think that's what makes independent journalism so damn popular. They believe the journalist, even if the journalist is wrong. So they trust them. They're not trusting CNN or Fox a lot of people still trust Fox, but they're not trusting these major corporations. The people who trust Fox, I think actually trust like Tucker, or they trust Brett Baer or something. Maybe, I don't know. Is he still around? I don't know who else is on Fox anymore. Who knows? Greg Feld, whatever. But they trust the people. I don't think they trust the corporations, and they don't trust the people on CNN, MSNBC, ABC, because they feel like corporations. They don't feel like a Tucker. They don't feel honest. And again, Tucker gets things wrong. Of course, everybody gets stuff wrong from time to time, but you don't believe he does it maliciously or intentionally. Typically, at least I don't. So yeah. Greg UW says Trudeau froze this judge's bank account when he mistook her for a Canadian trucker. Andrew Clark says Chinless is like Alan Tudyk in Resident Alien. Alyssa Johnson says this judge reminds me of Sadness from Inside Out. Twilight Dragon 3. Did you hear that a Canadian MP said that honk honk is an acronym for Heil Mr. H? Our politicians are a joke. There you go. Heil Mr. Hitler. Oh, okay. Our politicians are a joke. They are. IWD says this fool is making an argument that I imagine prosecutors made at the dawn of photography, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was rejected back then as being idiotic. Amazing. RX Joe says he should argue the benefits of having no chin. Ask Gillies says, longtime viewer and / enjoyer of the channel. I know. Axe Gillies. Thank you. Going through a rough spot right now, so take a shot with me. Cheers. P.S. Try and get with Melanie Mack about coming on the show. Would be a great conversation. Who the hell's Melanie Mack? I don't know who Melanie Mack is. By the way, I will. I've booked my flight to L.A. I will be at Road Rage LA, March 5th. Saturday, March 5th is the date. I'll be there. Lady Rackets will be there. Be a fun time. If you're in LA, there's an opportunity to meet up and hang out. Usually there's a party on Friday night, like a bar crawl type thing. And then Saturday is the show. There's usually a party, bar crawl party or whatever prior to the show as well. So yeah, make sure, if you're in the LA area and you want to meet up, follow for where we're going. You're in San Bernardino waiting to beat my ass. Cool. That'll be fun. Okay. So, by the way, Axe Skillies. Cheers, buddy. Hopefully your rough spot is over very, very soon. Don't like to hear that you're in a nasty place. Kevin speaks on it. Sent pic on Twitter DM of the Rumble. Thumbs up on app. Reeves NG. Oh, not guilty. Not guilty. Yeah, the Rumble has a thumbs up on the app, but on the webpage it's a plus minus. Let me see. How do we do on Rumbles today? We've got, I show 654 Rumbles over on Rumble. We had 826 people watching. We were at 1,500 earlier in the night, I believe. So really great numbers over on Rumble. Great to see people watching over there. STFU FFS says investigate on paper. JK Wynn says, so he has a picture of his wife on facial abuse. His wife can tell him that's not an accurate representation. Granted, he'd probably just ask to watch. Deleted says, here's $10 for the legal fight with Law and Grime. Would have been 20 if you hadn't insulted pineapple on pizza. Ugh. No, thank you. STFU says, this feels like a case that could set precedent. STFU says, behaviorist, Skinner, or Zimbardo. That was probably for Eric. I have no idea what any of that means. Joe K says, legend has it that somewhere up high on a mountain, our Lord and Savior, the Matt Harris, has left 2 stone loaves of his unbreaded commandments. Bookham Dano says, check out the Alpha Male Giga Chad podcast. Okay, people should check that out. Cornelius Buttknuckle says, Nick, I fail to see how what you do with Law and Cuck's live stream differs than the YouTubers who react to music videos, other than the fact that it's a live stream. Well, believe it or not, the music industry is very powerful, and they've carved out a special exception for music that makes it different by definition. They offer a mechanical license that allows basically the weird system that you have where the music copyright holder gets to claim a good deal of the revenue from stuff like that. And they also get the opportunity where if you do like even a cover of the song, you can license the cover, or you can license that as well directly through YouTube very, very inexpensively. So it's a little different just because the music industry is specific carve out for this sort of stuff. But yes, it is certainly fair use. I mean, what I'm doing is it's obviously transformative. Obviously, maybe even more so than what they're doing. Depends on the person in the video, right? Every case of fair use is a individual approach. If your reaction is just, yeah, oh, ooh, oh, if it's just that, that's not really transformative. But I do quite a bit more. Kiernot says, Eric, he hates us Asians, as in us Far East Asians, like Koreans, Chinese, Japanese, not Arabs. He also hates, he hates Italians. Here's why he hates Arabs. Okay. Kiernot, he says that Italians are almost as gross as Greeks and Arabs. So that's how you know he also hates Arabs. Let's see. Cassie says, sent you a DM on Twitter with link to Got to Rip It Off on the Axis of Awesome YouTube channel. Found you a theme song while you're dealing with law and crime. I'll check it out. Chili Coma says, what did I just walk into? That's a big old binger among other bangers. We're no strangers to love says, thanks for what you do, man. It's my dad's 5th deathversary. Please shout out Gary and direct chat to pour out some Gentleman Jack or Bud Heavy. Well, I don't have any Gentleman Jack or Bud Heavy, but cheers to Gary. 5 years gone, but not forgotten and not any less missed. Peace. All right. Wrestler Town says, unbreaded Eric sounds like racist number station. Selrin says, what if we just sent the Prophet Harris to China? SCFU says, copy pasta manifesto sounds like a screamo band. Kind of does. SCFU says, unbreaded equals philosophy of hating / not wanting money. That's one theory I've seen. Truck and Bear says, I searched unbreaded remix on YouTube and the first result is glorious in your DMs on Twitter. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Truck and Bear, for that. Yeah, we played that the other day. That thing's beautiful. What the hell is this? Okay. Jeffrey Smith, thank you for the donations. Thomas Finton says, I can already hear the Raging Golden Eagle RGE fans chomping at the bit reading that comic saying, but guys, it's just art. It's not cheese pizza. Barco Verrer says, EDTX equals copyright / patent troll favorable venue. Oh, Eastern District of Texas. 200 Watt Studio says, human sunbeam defeats all and shines on. Frosty Guns 55 says, hey, it's my birthday. Just turned 30. Hey, happy birthday, man. 30 is a good year. Live it up. 200 Watt Studio says, law and grime are hacks and wear mommy's army boots. Fist Fight Caleb says, Jeffrey Smith, Indiana pushes again for constitutional carry, stating licensing is infringement of Second Amendment, awaiting state Senate vote. White pill for you. Yes, that's good. And of course, licensing is an infringement on the Second Amendment. You don't have to get a license to speak. You don't have to get a license to print a news article. You don't have to get a license to go to church. You don't have to get a license to get a lawyer. You don't have to get a license to have a right to remain silent. You don't have to have a license to prevent a soldier from being in your house. It's the only one. It's the only one where we're like, oh, this is fine. 200 Watt Studio says, Chris Hansen, go and have a seat, Long Grime. Eric Wimberg says, thanks for a good salty laugh as always. Fire. Thank you. Bob Piffle. Riddle time. There will be a total of 10 questions. You'll be graded and judged. Think always outside the box. Number 1, what is the coldest country in the world? Iceland. Batgoat says, as Stephen Hawking, boom, boom, shakalaka, boom. Hey girl, how you doing? I just like to watch. Jeff the Gamer says, hey Nick, just wanted to say thanks for streaming tonight. Got some very worrisome news today, and it's good to have you to listen to keep my mind off it at work. Thanks, Jeff. Sorry about your news. Andrew Clark says, cover JXC's fair use video tomorrow. I don't know who that is. No idea. Bob Piffle says, answer Chile. You are 0 for 1. Pathetic. Next question. Please try to do better. Number 2. What's a great name for a female lawyer? Wait a minute. Are we doing an interactive quiz here? What's a great name for a female lawyer? Fuck, I have no idea. Judith. Hottie McBoobs. Claire Binger. Oh my gosh, that's all of the chats that we have. I think I got them all from Andrew Clark says JXE is a frequent EFAP guest. Oh, very cool. Very cool. Do I have another one here? Oh, I got it. Zalcor says, you know me. Oh, wait, I read that one too. Oh, Herman says, God bless Kyle and Sandman. Hope they win their cases for every goddamn fucking penny. Also, eagerly awaiting for our daily unbreaded gives me the same feeling as watching an orphanage with fireworks go up in flames. Herman says, it's like watching a snake imitating what it thinks lawyering sounds like after watching 10 hours of Perry Mason on mute. He also says, speaking of Comicsgate, not sure if you know Michael Bancroft, but he did a video responding to a comment that somehow spun a rant on Comicsgate into remorse over Kyle's acquittal. I hope more people stop getting their values from Sex Degenerate Network, aka CNN. Also, Bogan's Rule and Crack Pack Backs. Okay. Bob Piffle says, answer Sue. You're now 0 for 2. Oh, fuck. That was obvious. Ridiculous. Number 3. Who spends the day at the window, goes to the table for meals, and hides at night? Who spends the day at the window, goes to the table for meals, and hides at night? I don't know. A cat? What the fuck is up with these questions? Cynthia says, Carol and C. Goody are engaged via chat. That happened. Toast it, Nick. Oh. Cheers. Cheers to you weirdos getting married over internet chat. That's beautiful. Daylight, sunshine? You think it's daylight that goes? Oh, I guess it does go to the table for meals. Okay, yeah. Answer, a fly. Hey, God bless. Cheers. Keep on keeping on. Okay, thank you, Bob Piffle. So a fly spends a day at the window, goes to the table for meals, and hides at night, I guess. What flies do you know that hide at night? Flies are fucking annoying at night. All right, that's it. Thank you for hanging out tonight, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Very much looking forward to doing some Twitch streaming in the very near future. We got some more Reacher to watch. We've got Don't Be a Menace to watch. Oh boy. I think Drex might be coming out tomorrow. So we may have a little different timbre to the night streams with some Drex guesting action. And you're tired of this shit. When is game night? Elden Ring is coming out soon. So is the Risk of Rain update or expansion pack. So both of those will be game nights in the near future. I also played Vampire Survivors the other day on stream. Bigot. But you weren't there. You weren't there. You're never there. I don't know. I don't know what you I don't know what you want. There I am playing Vampire Survivors, and I'm like, oh, where's Icon of Sin? Guess he loves movies. Doesn't like video games anymore. All right, guys. Thanks a bunch. Catch you tomorrow, 7:30 a.m. again. It's always so early, but I'll see you there. Peace. Peace.
Oh, he drinks a fair bit, but you realize that it just helps get his noggin jogging along. With his glass by his side and his kids asleep tight, we'll hear some lost-plaining tonight. With his microphone muted, we'll laugh at this boomer until he explains it's all part of the plan. Watch his face become redder as he becomes meta, raging at idiots from Twitterland. From the white shores of Maine to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now. Oh, his lady is fair, and she handles herself with the grace of one who has borne many children. As the wife of a lawman, she makes sure that he has the time and the place to provide for them there. So pour out an Ardbeg, a Balmore, a Lafroig. The spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter as we hear lost blaming tonight. From the white shores of Nam to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now. Oh, the guests are all plentiful, from Dutty to Drexel. They bring their and spice to the mix. But the reason we're here and the one that we cheer is the one who is showcasing us his career. Spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the T-post on Twitter as we hear Lost Blaming tonight. From the wide shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the dog better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have.